nya, nya, nya. Ba, ba, Babue, Zimbabwe. The broken Bunsen burner burns so bright.
Jamie.
Southeast Asian Peninsula.
Hey, Jamie?
Yes?
I think the only line we need from you today is drivers who switch to progressive could save big.
Cool. I just gotta finish my warm-ups. Foul, throw in the towel. History.
Switch to Progressive today.
Santa ski slalom in a salmon skin suit.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Hi, friend. It's your home speaking, and I need some favors. Could you turn on some of the lights in the basement? I'm scared of the dark. Also, this one is easy. Could you bundle your home and car insurance with Geico so we could save money? Last thing, just a suggestion. Could you steam clean the carpets? I need a spa day.
Geico. For bundling made easy, go to geico.com today.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net. Christopher Media. Let's make some noise. From Asthma Core Studios near Detroit, Michigan. It's unregimented.
Gangsters, what's up, guys?
And now, here are your hosts.
Show number 212. I'm Chris.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Rich.
You know, we're just three heroes who beat off alone and don't give dildos as Secret Santa gifts in the office. Good God.
It's pretty sad when we are now, like, you can congratulate most guys for going, hey, when you beat off, is it by yourself, not in front of someone with a horrified look on their face? Yeah. Congratulations, you're a decent human being.
Have you ever given a sex toy as an office party gift? No? Congratulations.
I've given gifts that might have been used as a sex toy, but that wasn't their intent. So,
oh yeah, that was the Matt Lauer thing, right? He seemed to have a whole scheme going on.
Color me not surprised, because the whisperings about Matt Lauer always have been generally he's an asshole.
You know what? I am kind of shocked though. I thought that he was considered a good-looking guy in the media.
I would think so.
And so it's kind of shocking.
On TV, he's like one of the most popular anchors on TV. He's not a troll. I mean, like physically. And he obviously makes a decent wage, I'm sure, or it made
$25 million a year.
His hair disappeared quickly. That's one thing I remember about Matt Lauer.
Okay. Do you think that means anything against rich, powerful, and on TV every night?
Yeah, no, Bruce Willis can't get no pussy.
Hey, I've been bald. I've been shaving a bald since I was 23. I'm just saying, Matt Lauer was one of those people where it was like I saw him one time, he had a full head of hair, and I saw him a year later. Like, what the fuck happened?
Hey, he went with it.
Like when his hair left, it went quick.
Well, the big question now with the Matt Lauer situation is, what did the NBC execs know?
Probably
because
everything.
I don't think that he just like installed that remote door lock by himself.
I know, right?
Wait, what? I didn't hear about the remote door lock.
Yeah, he could
you
lock
didn't know that?
Doors of his office from his desk.
He'd call people into the office, and things would start going a little weird, and he'd just flip a switch and the door would lock.
From the Roger Ailes line of privacy devices.
Right.
Wow,
Wait,
that's like
was he stroking a cat?
I know, right?
When the woman walked into the office, did he have his the chair turned away from her, and he turns around real slow with an eye patch on, stroking a cat, flips the switch under the desk,
no pants.
Wow,
that was another one who just like. Why? You guys are like, okay, Louis C.K. he's not going to be the man of the year or whatever. He's not, a super attractive guy, but he's fucking tall and rich and on TV.
He's not
Why does he have, why does he have like the same moves that Matt Lauer and fucking Charlie Rose is just fucking, here's my dick.
Whoa.
This is how
I'm sorry, I gotta say this. You got some serious rabbit ears about tall guys, man. He's tall and rich, and he's on TV. And they're like, tall? What's tall got to do with anything? Rich. That's all you need to be.
Oh, please! You don't hear women talk. You don't think they like that? They're into tall as a thing. I mean,
yeah, okay, I get it.
Tall, dark, and handsome's a trope for a reason.
Yeah.
Listen, you're absolutely right. But I'm gonna tell you what. Enough zeros in your bank account, Danny DeVito could fucking turn into a good-looking guy. Trust me, I've seen it happen for a lot less than than 6 zeros in a bank account. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not fucking 6 foot, and I think we've all done pretty well for ourselves. I mean, I haven't seen everybody's team photo.
As someone
I'm like exactly average. I think I am at 5'8". I am the national average for a white male.
As someone, and on top of that, there's only 4 or 5% of the population who's taller, or 6'3" or taller. I mean, they're the freaks.
Someone who's dated in his 30s, you just got a decent job. Fuck rich.
Yeah.
Decent job, no kids.
Yeah.
House, car.
Yeah.
Not a felon. These things go a long way. But no, it's not necessarily because he's only a good-looking guy. It's because we have half jokingly, I've been half joking, but I've been also meaning I'm half serious. We've talked about this since all this shit started. Good-looking guys, it doesn't tend to be called harassment when they come on to a woman.
Well, yeah, did you notice Ben Affleck showed up and just kind of went away? I mean, granted, there was a giant shitstorm. He got buried in a giant shitstorm that was Kevin Spacey. But still, I mean, Ben Affleck, yeah, his came out and then just kind of went away. Because he's probably the quote-unquote hottest guy that's been accused of any of this so far.
Well, also, I think Ben Affleck's a well-known pussy hound. That's true. This is everybody's known this about Affleck.
So is that just a proactive move? Just if you like fucking? Yeah, it's Ben. But then again, wasn't it what they just said about, oh, that's Harvey, the world's worst sitcom?
Yeah, but to me, Ben Affleck, notice none of the accusations were he physically intimidated the women. It was more of
he's drunk, grabbed a titty.
He got drunk and he was flirting way too forwardly. But even that one lady that interviewed him was like, "It's not like I pressed charges." Now, if that had been Kevin Smith would have had to write a check. Okay,
well, right. Even if you rebuff somebody like what's his name, like Batman, it's still got to be flattering, you know.
I mean, when I was married, I had good-looking women. I don't know why come on to me, and I was like,
"Because you're married."
Oh yeah, that wedding ring is the best opening line in any bar, especially if you're a band.
Right. Yeah, the wedding ring means that, well, he's not afraid of commitment, so he's got that going for him.
And somebody must want his ass for some reason. Right. But no, it was always uncomfortable because it's like, you never get these calls or these things when you're single, do you? And there was a few women who were just blatant about it right in front of my wife at the time, and like it made me even more uncomfortable when she got upset because most of the time she'd laugh it off and go, "He knows better. He's seen Goodfellas. He knows that he'll wake up like Henry Hill with me straddling him with a gun in his mouth." So I was like, "Yeah,
damn."
Hey, man, just saying, you know who when you're young, you put up with some shit in a relationship you wouldn't with as you get older, but no, man. It's
my relationships are more like Casino, where they just go crazy and bash your car up.
See,
no.
I have been told that we've been together long enough that killing me would now be considered justified.
Look,
she would have she'd be able to dig up something to prove it.
Yeah.
Well, look, if you've been in a relationship long enough, I can only speak as a guy. You've already plotted how you would kill your woman if you were going to do it. You know, I mean, it's either some guys, it's they put the pillow over her sleeping face, they put the silence pistol to it, they pull the trigger once, the single tear rolls down their cheek. the feathers come up in slow motion. It's very cinematic, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I had to do it. Other guys, it's like cut her head off, put it in a bowling bag.
What was it, Chris Rock that said? Was it his routine that said you've never been in love if you've never sat there and thought about killing? How you could get away?
If you've never wanted to beat a woman's ass, you've never been in love, and if you've never wanted to kill a woman, you've never been married.
No, then it's somebody. It's maybe. Well, I know this is quite the spectrum, going from Chris Rock to Bill Engvall, but it's somebody that says if you've never sat there and plotted on how you think you could kill that person, you've never been in a real relationship. Like how you think you could get away with it, what you would do, how you would do it.
Did you see that when the Matt Lauer thing started unfolding, Geraldo Rivera started tweeting about maybe we should slow down and investigate, and maybe all these guys are getting swept, and everyone's like, Geraldo's next.
Well, yeah, because there's been whisperings about Geraldo for years. Geraldo's apparently one of those people that can't travel without his wife.
Right, and I don't understand why he would even speak up, but as soon as he did, Bette Midler came out and was like, okay, well, let's start with you apologizing for drugging me and feeling me up.
Okay, first of all, Geraldo goes back to the Studio 54 days, reporting from there, which we know it was cocaine and Caligula going on in that motherfucker.
Oh, yeah.
So
there could have been a man in there. Who knows?
Exactly. He's probably he's probably made out with a guy before.
By the way, Cocaine and Caligula. No one's ever come out with that.
It's a double album. It's Anal Cunt's new double album. But no. And then somewhere someone's going, Anal Cunt. That's not a band.
Yes, it is.
Look it up.
Oh, yes, it is. That's all I'll tell you.
But no, man. So that doesn't shock me. It's just
no.
I obviously didn't hear about the Dr. Evil door lock from his desk. That's okay. That puts Matt Lauer now from the definitely into the Harvey Weinstein, Kevin Spacey camp.
Dude, that's Roger Ailes.
Why
locking the door?
Why? I mean, the fact that I don't know how this works, but I would imagine maybe this is something that he would have to ask for. And doesn't somebody ask why? I mean, what would be the possible excuse for having to have a door lock switch at your desk?
You know, guys, I think exactly. I think this is pointing out why certain personalities don't make it in these type of businesses, because I think all three of us, well, I think
we would ask too many questions.
I know me, I would probably get him one-on-one and be like, what is this? So you can like get some bitch blowing you and pulling a Clinton and you don't have to worry about anyone walking in.
Right. I think that's, you could just look at Matt Lauer as being just another one in a long string of creeps that are going down. But the story behind his behavior kind of points to the bigger issue. If we accept that guys given the opportunity will be creeps, not all guys, but a good chunk of guys given the opportunity will, start to act out in this way, we have to start looking at the type of systems that allow them to operate. And here it is. I mean, a big, powerful guy makes millions of dollars. Everybody sees him on TV all the time. And it's just accepted that they have to make certain exceptions that, hey, this is how powerful men react. This is how they need to do these types of things, in order to, I don't know, just let off some steam or whatever, whatever excuses they're able to make in their head. And I don't think that this is necessarily like a news guy thing, because let's face it, Matt Lauer, I mean, he's not a fucking reporter. He's a fucking talking head. Right? Yeah. He's not writing the news. He's just reading it off of a fucking prompter. He's nobody.
He's a newsreader.
He's somebody that looked trustworthy enough and could read well. But so this is really more about Hollywood personality type than it is about, coming from a news organization or anything like that.
This is more abuse of power, isn't it?
Well,
isn't this,
right. I mean, this is the same way that
all these things have in common.
Everybody heard all these stories about Louis C.K. I'm sure his manager knew, or his whatever company represents him, or any people that he does business with on a regular basis had to have heard about these stories.
Someone's not going to tell someone about, dude, I was with Louis C.K. and he whipped it out and started jerking it. You think no one... That is not something someone's going to hold in forever.
Well, we know. I mean, yeah. We knew that the story was rumored for years now.
Even if Louis gave you $50,000 to shut up, you're going to tell someone when you're drunk, like, dude, you can't tell anybody this. Check this shit out.
So, I mean, it's nice that we can go through and call these people out who are creeps and start to filter them out. But unless you actually start to tackle the systems that are producing these creeps, that are, enabling, that's essentially what you have here is you have structures that enable people. I mean, look, I don't think that even if I was popular enough for anyone to give a fuck about, that there would be anything that could be dug up from my past that could cause me to lose my job or suffer in some way.
There's definitely, dude.
Yeah.
I
was in a band. I used to drink a lot.
Dude, all you have to... Have you ever leaned in for a kiss and she kind of didn't meet you that, 80-20? And maybe just sat there and then you gave her a kiss and you realized, oh, wait a minute.
Sure. I take your point.
Assault.
We're broadening the definition, but it's kind of separate from the point that I was trying to make is that...
My bad. Go ahead.
Well, no, that's fine. But even though I don't feel like I'm that type of creepy guy, I can't say 100% that if I was in a situation where, I don't know, I was a fucking rock star or an actor or something like that, and people are just giving me millions of dollars, and women are throwing themselves at me, and any type of behavior from me is completely excused or laughed off, that I couldn't develop into that sort of person. It's because at our core, people are lazy and follow the path of least resistance. And if you get absolutely zero resistance to get what you want, which is really just to whip your dick out and jerk off in front of somebody, and nobody's going to tell you that that's not cool to do.
I think, yes, there is. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
I was just going to say, I agree with you. I agree with you. There's a mindset surrounding people like this of not my business, maybe. Don't ask too many questions if you want to be here. Too many questions means not enough.
Don't rock,
don't
rock the fucking boat.
Here. But don't
fuck with the talent.
We also have to talk about something, and I do agree with a lot of, I guess, feminists on this. Is that, look, there are certain things that go together in these cases, and you're talking about very confident, maybe delusionally confident, overconfident guys, alpha males, type A personalities, and those guys who are driven to get what they want don't take no for an answer. And I'm not talking about in the sexual. I'm not even talking the sexual dynamic at this point. I'm just talking about in life. And then you add in the sexual dynamic, and I think it's very rare you're going to find that type of guy who's like that outside of sex, who's going to be the wilting flower that lets you make the first move, the oh baby, I want to make love to you type in the bedroom. I think it's going to be very much like, I'm going to make the first move. I'm going to be the aggressor. I mean, as stupid as it sounded when Trump said it, I totally understood what he was saying. Yeah, when I see a hot chick, I move on her like a mother. Well, he said move on her like a bitch, but I'd have been.
I don't. But
I mean, if he'd have said I move on it like a motherfucker, I'd have been like, I get that because I know guys that are like that. I know guys. I grew up with guys that are like that. guys who women go, oh, shit, this asshole's at the party. Hey, Rich, come here, man. Don't wander too far because he gets drunk and he's going to come over here and he's going to be standing awful close. And I'm like, what? Has he ever touched you? No, he's never done nothing like that. But you never know. And it's like, yeah, I know him. I know you're right. All right.
It's the type of dude who has no shame. And so you can't embarrass him by telling him no. Like most guys, like myself, you go up to a woman, ask whatever. You want to dance? You want to drink? Can I get your number? If it's a no, you're like, oh, fuck. And you feel so ridiculous and small, and you just kind of limp away. And some guys don't have that. They are not affected by that.
And also we have to address the fact.
And they have like the salesman quality. Like a no is just another step to a yes. Like you got to keep pressing.
And we have to address the fact that those type of personalities appeal to a lot of women. And you can't have it both ways. So we're going to have to come. We're quickly coming to a crossroads.
There's a middle ground. There's a middle ground.
Hold on.
Okay,
Aaron, we're not talking about the middle ground. Middle ground is what the extremes are, and I'm just going to use you as an example because you just gave it. The extremes are a guy who walks up to a chick he doesn't know in a bar, tries to spit game, gets shot down, and he's like, oh, shit. And then the other extreme is no is just a yes waiting to be said. The middle ground is not what we're talking about. We're talking about the latter example.
Right. You're talking about like the pickup artist, the movie The Pickup Artist, where he just really keeps talking to the girl until she gives in, right?
And I mean, and as case in point, I have so many people in my life, whether they be family, friends, people I've met at work throughout the years, who, whether they're male or female, have stories of, oh my God, I met this person and I really, I was like, kind of good looking, whatever. I didn't really think twice, but they kept after me. And most of the time it is guys. And I don't know if it's a Stockholm, I mean, it can, if it's Stockholm syndrome, but when they talk about their quote unquote courtship and the guy was just like, yeah, I shot him down and insulted him and all this, and he just kept coming back. And, it kind of endeared me to him. It was like, wow, he's, what is it about me that he keeps coming back? Wow, he's awfully confident. You know what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying?
You just described every fucking romantic comedy ever.
Exactly. Exactly. So this is what I'm saying. We are fast being shoved into the middle of the intersection where we have to, as a society, go, okay, either we need to, demonize is a strong word, but we need to curb that, put a cap on it, a hard ceiling, whatever you want to call it, to where it's like, okay, there's the charmingness of the chase, and then you're now past it, and we need to start teaching that to kids before they get to the age where this shit starts, or we need to accept that this is part of the, unfortunately, human mating ritual. Because and this is just for those people on that side of the extremes. I'm not talking about your average person. Your average person might, like, I've been told no and kept trying, because sometimes I get a no with a kind of lopsided smile. And it's like, yeah. You're like, oh, okay, you want to play the game. Yeah.
Right.
I get it. The chase is on. But then I've gotten oh, bitch, please. And I'm like, all right, later, cunt. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know it. Nope. Don't even try it. Don't even try it. Right. Don't even bother. And yes, I do have friends who cast a wide net. And like you said, I've literally watched them go to a bar, take him to a show. Hey, man, he's my tech for the night, so he's getting in for free. All right. So they're there the whole night, and I see them, and they just go from one chick to the next. Every time they get shot down, doesn't even faze them. Go to the next one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that.
Well, that's the middle ground, isn't it? That's what's the worst they're going to say? No. That's those guys. Those aren't the fuck her. She says no. I'm just keep going. Like
I think that's you're starting to tread into that water. Not real deep, but it just like I said, we're trying to implement hard and fast rules, clear-cut black and white rules to an issue that is just mostly gray area. And if we're going to do that, then we have to realize, we have to be honest with ourselves and say, then we're going to do this, and it's going to piss people off, and people are going to have to change what romantic comedies and television and romance novels have told them and programmed them for their entire life.
Yeah. You know, I think, Rich, we're trying to put ourselves, like, I think every guy right now, if he's thinking about this actively, is trying to put themselves on that spectrum. You know, like, I'm not a creep. Like, I've never forced myself on a girl, but I'm a perv. Like, I'll openly admit to that. Like, I'm a freak. That's for sure. And, but.
You like the girls with the boom? You once got busy in a Burger King factory?
Right. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I have to, like, put myself somewhere on that spectrum. Now, we're all trying to find, like, that middle ground, right? Like you were talking about, that sweet spot where you're not overly aggressive, that you're coming on too hard, but you don't want to act like you're just, like, completely asexual or a wet noodle or too aloof to even, you know, try. So you try and find that middle ground, right? So you're trying to place yourself in the middle of that spectrum, but the feedback, a lot of the feedback that we get, and this goes back to what we talked about at the top of the show already, is that spectrum from the female's perspective seems to be based a lot on how attractive you are. Ben Affleck comes on too strong. Well, okay, so, you know, signals got crossed. Garrison Keillor comes on too strong. That guy's a freaky old dude. Ew. I feel gross. I feel violated. You know, or Al Franken could go on the Garrison Keillor side as well.
Yeah, and there's also
and I'm not saying that's a black and white thing like that.
There's also fuck it. I guess I'm just gonna have to say it. There's also women out there who are will take advantage of a guy like that. And yeah, you know, the first things out of a feminist mouth will be, I don't give a shit how much money you spend, how much attention you spend, how much time you fucking spend on a woman. You're not owed anything. Okay, you're absolutely right. But you're a fucking useless cunt who needs the shit slapped out of you by another woman for using the guy's fucking for his money, time, and whatever. And that shit needs to stop too, because that just fucking sends confused signals to guys. Right? The easiest breakups I've had were the ones where at the moment of the breakup, it was the roughest breakups, but there was no prolonged bullshit. There wasn't it's not you, it's me, I want to still be friends. There wasn't no retaps. It was like, look, here's the deal. I don't want to be with you anymore. I'm not in love with you. I'm not physically attracted to you anymore. I know it hurts you to hear this, but it's going to be, you're going to move on a lot quicker than if I string you along and drag the long goodbye out for a year. And you know what? It was they were absolutely right. At the time, every derogatory name that I could think of, and there was a lot of them, was floating through my head, sitting on the tip of my tongue to call them. 6 months down the road, I had moved on. Every woman who's fucking strung me along, gave me hope for whatever reason, whether it to be to spare my feelings or they were trying to get something out of me, it prolonged the shit, and it made me hate them. It made me hate them.
Yep, I've always been, with the exception of one relationship, I've always been that way. Like, nope, we're not going to do this whole. No, you either want to be together or we don't. We're not going to do this dance.
Well, you know, there's also this relationship that I've known quite a few girls, some of them that I've dated briefly, that are like, you know, they'll have some, I don't know, new piece of jewelry, or all of a sudden they have their car payment or something that they were complaining about they couldn't get last week. And, that's just Jerry. He sends me money every once in a while. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, who's this Jerry guy? Oh no, it's nothing. It's completely innocent. We're just friends.
Jerry's gonna feel he's owed something at some point. I have a penis. I know how this goes.
He helps me out with stuff, and I'm like, okay, that's just fucked up. Like, if you told me, I fucked this guy and he pays me for it sometimes, I'd be like, okay, well, you have a relationship there and an understanding. That's all fine. It's worse to say that, like, that you have this illusionary, friendship where even though you clearly understand what this man wants and you accept this money from him and understand that it's never going to go further than friends for you, that you kind of lie to yourself and you really have no respect for yourself or the other person in that relationship. Like, if you're going to take the guy's money, at least fuck him. Or don't. Or don't fucking take the fucking money.
Well, yeah, and that's
I've known so many women like that.
Yeah, that's something that I just saw a short video on. I don't know who put it out. It's like one of those BuzzFeed type sites where they had an exchange of phones with a couple who'd been dating for about 9 months. And it was amazing that the guy's still on there's a ladder theory. Look it up, because it's a whole nother topic. But
ladder theory,
the ladder theory,
a ladder that you would climb.
When it comes to women in relationships, and there's more than one ladder, all right? There's the ladder of guys that she's been with and she's willing to be with, and then there's the ladder of guys that are orbiters, basically, all right?
Just waiting, like vultures.
Exactly.
Like people in the mall parking lot waiting for somebody to leave.
Right, yeah. and the girl gets, like, approval, or just, they say nice things about her, or maybe give her things, so that
I dated I didn't believe or disbelieve. I was agnostic towards it until I dated a girl who personified this theory to a T, and I was like, oh, okay. And the way the relationship pretty much ended. Now, she was one of those let's drag out the endings, so it was messy there for a little bit till I saw what was going on and just said fuck it and cut it off. But the relationship ended when I went to her and said, I know me, I won't play second fiddle to somebody else. I'm not going to sit here and watch you take money from some guy who thinks that on the off chance that you get drunk one night, you'd let him fuck you, let alone sniff, let him sniff your panties. And I'm not putting up with this shit. If you are so insecure to where you can't be in a relationship and realize guys who are romantically interested in you, you need to fucking tell them to go away. I'm not going to play that game. And that's when the relationship really ended, and then it was the long goodbye after that. But I mean, like, this is part of what I'm getting at. All of this assault. There's a certain segment of feminists and certain segment of women, period, who want to just go, this has nothing to do with anything but men and power and patriarchy and this and that. And it's like, you're wrong. You're wrong. This has to do with the clusterfuck of the mating ritual that we go through in society.
Yeah. No,
all of this factors in.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that, Rich. And it, when you try and voice that opinion, it comes off as, that you're victim blaming. You're trying to lay some blame on the women in these situations, and there's a difference. I'm not trying to personally say that anybody that Harvey Weinstein has, anybody that's seen his dick unwillingly has to examine their own choices in life. I don't know what the fuck that, I don't know those people. I'm not making those judgments, but I agree with you. The whole mating ritual itself and the way that, just the way that I think that we don't really openly communicate about it is part of this problem. Part of this idea that sex is something that the woman has and can give, and that the man should pursue and take. You know, you can take those words and have a very simple romantic comedy based off of that, or you could have a fucking Harvey Weinstein.
Yes, and if you want proof that it all hinges on the perception of the woman being pursued, pull up the movie Say Anything and watch the scene where Lloyd Dobber holds up the fucking boombox outside of her fucking house and plays In Your Eyes by Peter Gabriel. Because every woman I know, because that movie was huge when I was growing up, just and melted. Gush. You had to flip the cushions. You had to throw down the fucking, you know what I'm saying? You had to throw down the rubber floor mats, or else you're going to be mopping all night. All right? Every woman I know. And I had friends who were dumb, and I never tried it. Luckily, not because I wouldn't have tried it, but because I was lucky enough to have friends who tried it before me, and I saw their results. And to a man, it was either her brother, her father come out, threaten to kill the guy, or the cops are called. Yet, what are we supposed to do? Because guess what, ladies? I'm about to fill you in on what it's like to be a guy and try to navigate the minefield of adolescence and puberty. Mom and dad are no fucking roadmap. All right?
No.
The government doesn't send us pamphlets telling us how to fucking handle this shit. All right?
You know, even sex ed class is like nothing. It gives you no guidance on how to handle yourself as a burgeoning sexual being. It's just like here's what it can have. Look, you fuck too many chicks, your dick falls off. Okay, it's just fact.
All it accomplishes is it makes you feel weird in a room full of your peers. Like, all right. We were all cool when I got to school today. Now everything's
social
weird.
Social studies teacher or somebody. They're just like, the board says that I have to teach this class, so I guess no snickering. We're going to talk about the penis and the vagina.
The best way I can describe it is if you know the chords G, C, and D on a guitar, and I go, the song is 3 chords, and it's G, C, D. Play it. And you have no idea. You've never heard the song before. You have no idea the rhythm of the song. You have no idea the strumming pattern. You could play something, but it's not going to be what I want to hear. That's what we are given, the very basic building blocks of what to do, and then not told what to do with them. It's like getting something from IKEA with no instructions and no tools. How do you put it together?
This is Sex Education Week. That's right, Sex Ed Week. We're going to be talking about the penis. We'll be talking about the vagina. We'll be talking about the testicles. Yes, we're also going to be talking about venereal disease, sexual intercourse, the scrotum, the clitoris, and we will definitely be spending a lot of time talking about masturbation.
Here's what... This brings up an interesting question to me then, because we've seen all of these cases unfold here in the U.S., right? But yet, as much as we think that we have our own exclusive culture here in the U.S., we're really still tied to most of Europe culturally. And we see reflections of that. You know, the right-wing movement in this country is reflected in England. And yet, you know, none of this seems to be occurring in England. Maybe it is. Maybe there's so many stories about, you know, American men in power that there's just no room for the English pervs. But, or maybe it's because they're just kind of more open with sexual things. And it's not like,
you can show titties on TV on the BBC.
Right. I'm not talking like, you know, they're some super sensual culture like, you know, like Greeks or Italians or French or something like that. It's just, they're not that prudish about it. You know,
butt fucking at 12, like the Greeks.
The topic of sex and showing sexual things on TV and on commercials, it's just normal part of everyday life. There's still a puritanical streak that runs through this country that's really uptight about this. And in the same way that, like, you know, there's certainly a good deal of terrorism happening in Europe, but there's not the lone gunman. There's not the mass shootings. So in the same way that there is something a little exclusive culturally going on in the U.S. about gun culture, there's something going on about sex as well that's producing these, well, let's just say predators.
And this is where I kind of agree with a portion of the school of thought that sexuality is a spectrum, because and the reason I do is because a lot of people go, oh, in Europe they just have this laissez-faire attitude towards sex. It's just sex. No, that's not true. Maybe generally they have that, but there are people who practice monogamy, strict monogamy, in Europe. You can't tell me just because they were born in Europe and raised in Europe that everybody's fucking everybody and it doesn't matter to your wife or husband. That's horse shit.
Right.
And
they're not.
And
I don't.
And no. But over here we have the opposite. Everybody assumes that. Well, the minute we get into a relationship, it's supposed to be, you know, a strictly monogamous relationship, and that's the way everybody wants it over here, and that's not true either. We're attracted to the extremes of things because it makes it easier, and I do it all the time, and I fucking want to kick myself in the nuts, but it's physically impossible with my own fat ass, because it's easier just to break things down into an either or situation. Because if you give me 5 different fucking, you know, possible answers, and there's no definitive answer, I could get lost in the inner workings of myself trying to figure out what I'm going to cherry pick from all 5 answers. So I'm going to come up with a 6th answer, which ain't going to help nobody. But I mean, honestly, I think we need to have discussions about this. Some people want to be pursued aggressively. Some people don't. Some people are very comfortable talking about sex. Other people aren't. And we need to, instead of teach kids that, you know, oh, well, you don't worry about sex till this age at least. We need to say, look, it's a natural part of life. It's going to be a big part of your life. Honestly, the part of your life you're not having sex or not dealing with sex is a very short period. I mean, what?
Oh, yeah,
13 years?
I like to call those the quiet years, when you have some fucking peace.
Yeah.
13 years and you don't remember 3 of them?
I look at my nephew right now. He's 13. I'm just like, oh, God. What is going on in your brain right now?
I mean,
but even as a child, like, you know, I didn't understand it, but I knew that Bugs Bunny kind of made me feel weird when he dressed up like a woman.
Okay, Garth.
Made me feel like when I climbed a rope in gym class.
Right, yeah.
But no, I mean...
He has tits now. Why do I like that?
You know what? We're laughing, but that's a valid point, because I've seen people post pictures of a Pepe Le Pew cartoon and go, this is why we have rape culture in America. And I looked at that and I fucking said, you fucking stupid bitch. I hope you get raped for saying something that stupid. You dumb bitch.
Like, well, first of all, like, Pepe Le Pew never gets any.
Yes, and on top of that, God damn it, we were smart enough because we were taught it's a fucking cartoon.
If anything,
bitch, my dad's semi-truck didn't turn into Optimus Prime no matter how much I wanted him to.
And if anything, it's a cautionary tale, all right? If you come on too strong, you strike out.
Right, she was constantly trying to get away from him, and found a way to do it over and over again. Pepe Le Pew never got the cat or the girl or whatever. Because he came on too strong and he was a creep.
I mean, if
it wasn't condoning it because you're making like hearts around it.
If your child is watching Pepe Le Pew and taking their sexual cues for the rest of their life from that cartoon, you have failed as a parent.
Yeah.
So epically bad.
Cartoon skunk is your child's sexual role model.
That we should fill your fucking gash up with cement to make sure nothing comes out of that motherfucker anymore. And we should fucking cut your dick off. Seriously.
Wow.
How the fuck? Okay.
It's extreme approach to eugenics.
I remember when I was 5, what was it? Not the Munsters, the other one, the Addams Family. Gomez would go up to Morticia, and he'd kiss her hand, and he'd start kissing her upper arm, right?
Right, he'd work his way up.
Maybe I was younger than
She'd act like she didn't like it.
Well, I don't know. All I know is that I did it to my grandmother one day as a joke, and I was like 4 or 5, and my family was like, okay, you realize that, haha, we're all laughing about it here. You don't do this with other people. And I had to be 5, because I clearly remember thinking,
don't be weird, Lil Rich.
I clearly remember thinking, like, how fucking stupid do you think I am to go up to some bitch in the grocery store I don't know, grab her hand, and start kissing her like that?
You realize, Rich, you have to marry your grandmother now.
No, that's the family that's born south of the Mason.
In Mike Pence's America, you do.
But no, I mean, but it wasn't sexual. It wasn't anything. It was just, it was a joke. It was laughing. Ha ha ha! This is funny. It's the same way when I was a kid. Anytime my parents showed any type of physical affection to each other, I would go, ew. I wasn't grossed out.
Your dad would be like, shut up.
Fun of,
that's how you got here, son.
Like, you're going to like this one day. Yeah, I mean,
right. There's a lot of pointing to past culture, and there's a lot of easy targets there because there's a hell of a lot of misogyny going on in the past in this country. But to say that, the Christmas song, "Baby It's Cold Outside," that's one of the reasons why we have this culture of rapists and sexual predators going around is because we accept these things so much that it's just laughed off in a Christmas song that seems so wholesome when really it's creepy. No, it's not fucking creepy. There's nothing creepy. There's nothing rapey about that song. You're barking up the wrong tree.
If you want to hear a rapey song, go get the album "Niggas for Life" by NWA and put on "She Swallowed It." Okay. Where, oh shit, it's the preacher's daughter, and she's only 13, while they're running a train on her at the drive-in movie theater. All right, there you go. That's a creepy, rapey song. All right, just get that out there. Oh, and there's another one. What is that? Oh fuck, it's some '80s song. Josie da 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 da. Anyways, I'm listening to it, and it's
the Outfield.
Outfield, yes. Your Love. Mm-hmm. I'm listening to it, and I'm like, I usually like my girls a little bit older, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is about fucking an underage chick. This is some Benny whatever his name is, like Into the Night type shit. This is
that song begins with "She's just 16 years old. Leave her alone." They say, like the cops.
Chuck Berry. Let It Rock. What is it? I see her standing there by the record machine. Couldn't be a day over 13. What?
Remember, you're 16. You're beautiful, and you're mine. Who was that? When we were growing up, that was always on the oldie station.
But I mean, if you want to point to shit like that, I guess there's a case to be made. But I mean, also at the same time, God damn it, stop thinking. It makes me wonder about the people who say that this is where all men get their cues from. Well, do you get your cues from it? Is it because are you this stupid to where you listen to a song? One of the biggest songs when I was like 13 was a Winger song called 17.
Oh, it's Corolla's term, but more statutory rock.
Okay.
Right. No. When I was listening to that song, like 17 was a woman because I was fucking 14 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
I listen to it now, I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like,
and why is the bass player pirouetting through the video? But I But no,
this guy's teeth are really white.
In the 80s, before everybody bleached them too. That's the weird part.
So this is perfectly illustrated in the Roy Moore case, and this whole dynamic between Roy Moore and Al Franken is really interesting because it really illustrates a lot of people's hypocrisy. But first of all, just let's believe everyone and say that both Roy Moore and Al Franken are creeps in their own way. There's still no equation between the two. You're talking about, like, if Al Franken did feel up random women that he was taking pictures with at the state fair, that is a far cry from being 30 years old and specifically going after teenage girls.
Al Franken's allowed to go to the mall.
Right.
Maybe not state fair, but he can go to the mall.
But, also, I don't know if you guys have kept up on this story, but we found out this last week that one of the accusers that came out against Roy Moore went to the Washington Post. The Washington Post investigated it, like they did all the other accusers, and found that she was sent there by some, I forget what organization it was, some fundraising organization for Republicans in Alabama, and that she was also known to have worked on Roy Moore campaigns before. So they sent in a stooge. They sent in somebody with the idea that, like, they would present this, another accuser story to the Washington Post. The Washington Post would publish it, and then they would debunk the story as being full of shit, and probably have the woman break down in tears at some point and say, "Oh, I made the whole thing up because I wanted attention," or something like that, and then use that as evidence for why all the other claims that the Washington Post was reporting on were equally as false. It's this idea that you can win your argument just by saying, "Well, look, it's all fucked up anyway, and you can't believe anything you read." Well, all it really did in the end was prove that the other accusations that the Washington Post reported on and investigated in the same manner that they did this woman, that if they found out that this woman's claims were false, that only makes the other woman's claims that much stronger. So they really played themselves on that one. But yet they can still get away with some kind of moral equivalency. Well, you see it on the left and in Hollywood and all this shit too. It's not even near the same thing. So far, Matt Lauer, fucking Garrison Keillor, Al Franken, Kevin Spacey, Louis C.K., all these guys still aren't anywhere near Roy Moore on my spectrum. Roy Moore is fucking off the deep end child molester territory. None of this is anywhere near any of this shit.
Oh, so Spacey was kind of...
Maybe, okay. Maybe Kevin Spacey dips his toe in the Roy Moore pool.
It's the boys section, not the girls section. But
yeah,
under 18's under 18, man.
You're absolutely right. It is. Although there's... that didn't seem to be the specific behavioral pattern for Kevin Spacey. He was found to be creepy to a lot of different people in a lot of different ways.
Look,
Roy Moore has one specific thing.
Roy Moore got thrown out of every mall because he'd go into fucking Victoria's Secrets and ask, "Does this come in 12-year-old size?" Okay, that's the fucking problem with Roy Moore. This is not sexual harassment. I've said it before on this show. That motherfucker's a child. He's a pedophile.
Yes, he's sick in the head.
And he likes them of a certain age, just like Michael Jackson. I love all children. No, you love boys, but then they turn 12 and you have no use for them.
I'll say, after once they hit that 13th birthday, see ya.
That's a pedophile.
Well, meanwhile, I'm starting to really believe that people on the right are looking for accusers on Al Franken. I mean, that's their cover on this. Because Al Franken probably won't lose his job for what's being claimed against him.
He has to talk to the Senate Ethics Committee.
And therefore, we can get Roy Moore in. We can secure our seat. We can secure our voting power in the Senate.
Well, you are touching on
something.
And
if anybody wants to call us out on having a pervert, a fucking child molester in office on our side, we can just say, hey, look, you've got Al Franken, we've got Roy Moore. Obviously, I guess you can't judge.
So is that why I noticed this week, all the politicians have kept their jobs. All the entertainment people, bye-bye. But all the politicians have kept their jobs.
John Conyers is fighting it.
But he's still there. Frank is still there.
He's fighting it. He's refusing to step down. Absolutely. I think the only politician that lost his job was the guy who actually had a nude photo of him floating around.
No, didn't he quit? Because I was reading that before the show. Didn't he resign because of that?
Yes. That's kind of what I meant. But he's no longer in his position.
Well, Conyers has been removed from some committee he was part of, and sounds like the last news I heard, he's been admitted to the hospital due to stress-related. What do you call it? Symptoms or whatever. So it sounds like he's pretty much going to try to back out gracefully, because once they start taking you off committees, your time is limited. And I mean, not to get too political about it, that seat's not going to a Republican. Another Democrat will be in this.
Now, let's be honest. All three of us, when we first read that, John Conyers, sexual harassment.
I thought it was
women.
Some Kevin Spacey shit.
Yeah, it's like, women? That's the first thing I thought. Like, oh.
What, did him and Kevin Spacey go out cruising?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I thought Monica Conyers has been a beard. I thought she was one of the most well-known beards ever.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, where's this coming from?
It's kind of like
I wouldn't have thought that at all, but
it's kind of like how everybody was like, Rob Halford goes, "I'm gay," and we're like, "Yeah, we kind of figured."
Yeah, Clay. Hey, I'm gay. Yeah, we know Clay. Thanks.
I mean,
thanks for not rocking my world. I'm gonna continue on my day now.
So he acts gay, or has he said some stuff that is?
He's like 30 years older than his wife, for starters.
Yeah,
they're never in public together.
She's had affairs behind his back, and it's never seemed to bother him. And there's been rumors of him and younger people, like on his staff, younger men on his staff. Maybe, guys, here's the thing: we got to stop being so pedestrian about this. If I've learned anything, there's just some people who want to fuck, and it doesn't matter if it's man or woman. Like, that's just all there is to it. And we are now in a time where it's more acceptable in American culture to just be bisexual, pansexual, whatever the fuck, than it has ever been.
True.
I mean, like,
that way you can fuck everything.
Even the disco era, that was still very limited to like the Castro District in San Francisco, Studio 54, certain segments of New York, et cetera, et cetera. It was definitely more acceptable with women than men. Now it's like the amount of guys that I meet who are under 25 who will just, without blinking an eye, let you know they're bisexual. I'm like, okay. First of all, I didn't ask, but I mean, I'm glad you're comfortable with it, I guess. Second of all, that didn't happen when we were growing up. I had a friend who came out to me as bisexual in high school, and it was a big deal to him. Like, to them, it's just like, oh yeah, I'm bisexual. Yeah, I fuck guys and girls. Maybe that's how.
You're just like a hole. Good for you.
I mean, maybe House of Cards is a little bit more of a documentary than we thought. Because, I mean, Frank, he's fucking everything in that show. So, who knows, man? Here's the thing. With a guy like Conyers, he left a paper trail. He paid somebody. That's the smoking gun on him. If he wasn't, I don't understand how this isn't a bigger story nationally. This should be a bigger story than Al Franken. Only Al Franken's celebrity is pushing this story as far to the forefront as it's being pushed. Because Franken's never paid nobody using taxpayer money to go away for sexual harassment or assault. Conyers has.
You want my honest opinion? I think his blackness is saving him a little bit.
See, and that's the other thing. That's another thing that there's a layer of this, is that you have the opportunist who want to turn everything towards their pet agenda, and I'm seeing it on a lot of the blackosphere blogs and all this shit. That is, well, it's all white men that are doing this.
Well, yeah,
see, all white men.
I was catching up on Bill Maher the other day, and they had his last episode of the season, and someone on his panel was going off about this is white males, and I was like, wait a minute, wasn't the first one in all of this Bill Cosby?
And if you really want to get
we're
down
sweeping
to
Bill
it,
under the rug now.
You really want to get down to it. Remember that heavily doctored video of the woman walking through New York? Supposedly she walked through New York for 10 hours, and they edited it down to a 5-minute video of her being catcalled. Go back and watch that video if you can find it without it, if it hasn't been re-edited. And notice the racial makeup of most of the catcallers.
Oh, yeah.
They're not white. So if they wanted to say white men are more likely to harass behind closed doors and black men are more vocal about, I don't know if catcalling is harassment. I mean,
right. No, I think the difference here is like, if you're a white man, it's easier to get in a position of wealth and power and influence so that you can have this type of behavior.
So easy. You just show up and be white, and they just hand you things.
It's kind of like saying there's something about being black that makes somebody poor. No, there's something about, the fact that we've kind of corralled black people into the poorer neighborhoods.
Aaron,
there's nothing that
it has to do with race only because there's a disproportionate amount of people who are minorities who come from lower income. All right, because I know poor white people, poor white guys, and they talk the exact same way. They come up and it's, hey baby, hey sweetheart, and all that bullshit. We were just talking about one of them before we started recording. It's when you come from nothing, you have to peacock more than a guy who comes with a silver spoon in his mouth. That's why a guy like Trump just comes off as insecure to me. Just painfully insecure. You have everything. Why are you peacocking?
Oh, yeah. I meant to mention this earlier when it came up, but did you hear that he is now denying, or at least trying to cast a shadow of a doubt on whether that was actually him recorded on the Access Hollywood tape?
Oh, Jesus.
It's like, we have video, dipshit.
Well, I mean, we don't have video that lines up with that. We have just audio, and then we have what sounds like, it could be.
I
it's in the realm of possibility that it was edited, but what the fuck?
I look so fucking forward to the day when we have a president who understands that there is a lot of shit that's just beneath them.
There is nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
His tweets this last week. He retweeted a bunch of videos from I think it's called Britain First, which is this basically Britain's version of the alt-right over here. These videos of like, here's a video of a Dutch boy getting beat up by a Muslim, which it wasn't. All these videos of just like that they're throwing up there unproven. That and using their own narrative to tell the story about why they shouldn't have immigrants in their country, and our president is retweeting this shit. He's fucking not even tweeting the fucking Native American thing. Did you see this? He's standing in front of a portrait of Andrew Jackson and giving an award to Native American code breakers that saved lives.
That has to be his top.
One fucking sentence in, and he's already talking about Elizabeth Warren.
That's like top 5 most awkward moments of his presidency so far.
Oh my god!
It's like I wanted to, unless he told him stop saying Pocahontas, stop saying Pocahontas. For the love of God, stop saying Pocahontas. That's all I was thinking.
So anybody on the right or left that holds some secret, that harbors some secret desire or hope that he is going to just, suddenly change. Like, no, we've seen every aspect of Donald Trump that we're going to see, and they're all shitty.
Oh, it's
there is no good side. There is no becoming presidential.
Can you imagine what he's going to do when he's a lame duck? Holy shit.
I hope he does like the guy in the fucking... Oops. What happened? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I hope he does like this dude that was being put on trial for war crimes in Bosnia.
Oh, yeah. Did you see that video,
story?
dude?
The Slobodan... I didn't see the video. His name's Slobodan Praljak, I believe. He's sentenced,
man.
He was already sentenced to like life in prison for his war crimes, and then he fought it, and the court upheld it. And so he said he referred to himself in third person, something that Trump does often. And he says that Slobodan blah 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 is not a war criminal. I defy your judgment, and downs a bunch of poison and fucking dies.
Yep.
And I think that's our best case scenario for Trump, personally.
And that was like 2 days after I saw the Bud Dwyer video for the first time. I was like, what, is this a theme this week? People taking himself out on camera?
I was listening to Joe Rogan, and I can't remember who his guest was, but they were talking about the Donald Trump they grew up with. Now, he's 50, so he's, give or take 10 years older than us. So he definitely has a clear memory of Trump, a clearer memory of Trump for longer than we do. Let's put it that way. And he said, "Is it just me? Because no one in the media is talking about this, but it's like something happened to him, like a Gary Busey type injury, because he played video and audio of Trump talking during an interview in the late '80s, and Trump at least came off as very self-aware, was able to admit fault.
He does this thing where he interrupts himself, and it's almost like he's having a conversation with himself. Like, oh, the state of our country is very bad. It is. It really is. And like, he didn't used to do that. He used to be coherent.
I'm seriously wondering if it's some form of dementia. I mean, let's be honest, guys. He doesn't take care of himself.
Absolutely not. And he
eats fast food. He doesn't work out.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk from Republicans who won't go on the record about this situation, about how mentally competent he is, which just makes it really disturbing. Because you understand that their only goal is, well, let's see what we can get him to do before he's useless.
Yeah, I mean, it's night and day. When he played the audio from then and the audio from literally the day before, and having had almost every person who's lived long enough to have in my family have some form of dementia, I'm pretty good at spotting it, and I'm like, wow, yeah, there's got to be something to it, something. I mean, it's. And I really think maybe he had an accident we just didn't hear of, because it really does remind me of the Gary Busey thing. Gary Busey used to be a very intelligent, well-spoken, coherent, good actor. I'm talking during like the time when he did the Buddy Holly story. He had a motorcycle accident. He had a closed head injury right after he filmed Lethal Weapon.
Nice fucking batshit.
Yeah, and you can see it. His next major role was Point Break. And what's his face? Dirty Dancing guy who died. Patrick Swayze was like...
Swayze.
Yeah, Swayze. He's like, he wasn't acting. He was just being himself in that role. And if you look at him in that role, he's erratic. He's all over the place. He can't hold a coherent conversation. And it's pretty much the roles that he's taken since. And if you've seen him on any interviews... It's not an act. He's just being himself.
Yeah. Well, we're in this situation where people just don't die of shit as much as they used to, right? So we've learned to, control certain cancers, or early detection and all this of heart disease and blah blah blah. And so in the past, if a fucking president or somebody in power was unhealthy, they eventually just had a heart attack and fucking keeled over, right? Now we're able to extend life to the point where there's certain things like about the brain that we can't control or understand still. We don't have cures for these diseases. So this isn't going to be the this isn't going to be the last time that we're in a situation where we have a president who, you know, is physically able, but not mentally, possibly. And we have to assess that. And part of what the psychiatric field has been dealing with is this idea, I forget where it stems from, there's this whole story about it, but basically it was, at a certain point, the field of psychiatry said, you know what, you cannot make a diagnosis on somebody that you have not talked to one-on-one. It is irresponsible to say that somebody you heard on the radio or saw on TV or wrote this book, that these people seem mentally unhinged in some way, or try and diagnose them with some sort of mental disorder. But that's kind of exactly what we have to do when we have to determine a person's capability for doing their job, right? Whether it's president or whether it's fucking driving a truck, or even, you know, not your job, your hobby, buying a gun. You know, we do have to figure out ways where we can assess these things. So,
well, I mean, look, I understand that you can't give a diagnosis that's going to stand up in court, but you could observe, if you are a professional in a field, and you've seen behaviors and studied certain behaviors and certain patterns, speech patterns, et cetera, especially when it comes to dementia. Yeah, I'll take someone who's dealt with it, who's a professional in that field, a nurse who deals with it in a home, et cetera, doctors who specialize in dementia. Yeah, I'll take their word for it. I'm sorry.
There are professionals that are stepping away from the tradition and making judgments of saying, like, yes, some of this looks like possibly early onset dementia, or, you know, he's a typical narcissist behavior.
Well, I think a lot of that has
if we're going to say a narcissist can't be president, I don't know who's going to be president.
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, yeah. The difference is you want a self-aware narcissist, not someone with borderline personality disorder mixed up with a healthy dose of narcissism. You know, you don't want that, because that's
right.
Just
you want Barack Obama. I mean, I think he understood. You know, there has to be a certain portion of Barack Obama that really gets off on having the attention, of being able to hold the crowd, you know, have them react honestly to a speech that you're making or something, you know. The part of him that gets off on that and having that power and all that. That's fine as long as you're balancing that with a lot of other rational thoughts. The thing is, there's nothing rational inside of Trump to balance that off of. It's all a big long life of I get whatever the fuck I want because I'm fucking Donald Trump.
And you know, there was at some point in 8 years, Obama looked in the mirror at least one time and went, first black president, that's right.
Yeah. And you know, and speaking, I know, not to get back on the sexual misconduct thing again, but when it's a very valid point when anybody who says, oh, well, look, this is, you know, liberal Hollywood and these liberal news organizations, all these liberals that are getting accused of this, you know, they're out of control. No, the epitome of what we're actually talking about is the man in office, who has, you know, his own set of allegations against him. But that is the epitome of the personality type that we're talking about here. It's not, and it has nothing to do with Donald Trump being white. It has everything to do with having money, power, influence, and nobody around you calling you out on your shit.
Yeah, that's what all of these people have in common.
That's what they have in common. It's not about a white male thing.
Well, once again, that goes back to what I was saying.
It's not even about necessarily a male thing.
going back to what I was saying, I think that there's people who ask questions, people who go, wait a minute, what's going on? People who are frank, who are very, I guess in those circles would be considered acerbic. They don't last long. They want ass kissers. They want yes men. They want people to rubber stamp shit and people to go, it's none of my business. I'm not being molested. I'm not being harassed. None of my business. And that to me is an issue. And when I hear, women's groups, feminists say that's an issue, I go, see, that's a valid issue to have. Because God knows I'm a fucking big mouth. If I see some shit like that, I have friends who when we go out who are way too aggressive with women, and I am the first one to start just ripping them down. Like, what are you doing, stupid? You see she's not interested in your simple ass. Why don't you take your broke ass and go back over there and get on your prepaid fucking cell phone and call your fucking mommy? That way you can afford the Uber back home. The rest of us are going to go party. I'm sorry he bothered you. Have a nice night. Shut that shit. Once again, I'm like Negan. I'm going to shut that shit down because I'm not letting my night be fucking ruined over this idiot and his delusional self about how much sway he has with the women. You ain't got none. You ain't got no sway. You ain't got no swag. Go the fuck on. Sit down. Seriously. We paid your cover to get in. Just enjoy the view in the corner. Shut up.
Man, you waste way too much oxygen and energy. I just simply say, I don't have your bail money. That's it. Like, if you go to jail, you get left in jail, man.
I got friends that are used to doing time. That shit don't fucking please them.
Gotcha.
But seriously, and I do it because it's like, look, it's I feel embarrassed. Mm-hmm. I'm embarrassed for the woman who has to put up with this shit, and as fucked up as this may sound, I'm embarrassed for my friend because it's like, dude, don't embarrass yourself. There's a point where you are aiming too high. Stop listening to Air Force recruiters. Stop aiming that high. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mean to loop us back onto that subject, but I know there was, refresh my memory, Rich. There's something we were talking about pre-show that you'd brought up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the clusterfuck right now going on in the video game industry, specifically with Electronic Arts, EA. Just to give as quick a background as I can, EA is a major player in the video game industry. They put out Madden,
Electronic
NHL,
Arts.
FIFA. They're one of those companies that own smaller companies that put out like huge, games as far as the ratings and the critics and everything.
Right.
Well, one of the things,
and also, as big a business as some Hollywood studios now, these top gaming companies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was 3 years ago, 4 years. It was while we were on the air. They released the numbers and gaming overtook porn.
Right.
And I'm like, God damn.
I'm disappointed, you millennials. Generation Z. Jerk off. You'll be more fun to hang around.
They're not watching just as much porn. It's all free now.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what really, porn took a hit and gaming surged a little bit. I think that's how that happened. Well, anyways, EA has been doing what a lot of game companies have been doing now for the last 5 years or so, maybe 10 years, where they release the base game and they charge $60 for it. Yeah. Then about 4 or 5 months down the road, they release what they call downloadable content, which is an add-on to the game, whether it be extra missions, extra characters, whatever. And what they do is they want you to buy what they call a season pass. So you buy all the future downloadable content when you purchase the game for $40 plus the $60 for the game. So you're spending $100 for the game.
Okay.
And you'll end up saving $5 per downloadable content, because if you pay for them individually, it's like $35 or what. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. If you pay, basically you pay up front, you get everything at a discounted rate.
Yeah. Now what they learned from that is that the customer was willing to do that, so they started to put in microtransactions, which is what you see in a lot of mobile gaming, like Candy Crush, et cetera, et cetera.
So yeah, if you want to keep playing, give us $1, and we'll give you 20 more lives, type of thing.
Yeah, and if you don't want to wait 24 hours for 20 lives,
right?
Give us $1, we'll give them to you. Well, they started doing that, and it used to be for things that were cosmetic, things that were like you want a new outfit for your character, you want a new color.
Right.
Specifically in the Star Wars game, you want a new color lightsaber, whatever. Fine.
Usually
whatever.
the type of things that you have to work your way up to, like you have to, I don't know, achieve a certain goal or get a certain badge, and then you unlock it.
Yeah.
I mean, at least from the video games that I've played, you have unlockable achievements.
And it was always, and it was always up until the new Battlefield 2 Star Wars game. It was always, I pay $5 real money. I buy $5,000 worth of credits in game, and I can buy the costume for the character I want or whatever, the ship, the skin for the ship I want, whatever it may be. Now what they've done with the new game they put out is they've locked the most desirable characters to play, and they have a progression system where when you play, you get 200 to 300 points, or credits, excuse me. But to unlock the characters, these are like 30,000 credits. And so a 10-minute game gets you 200 to 300 credits. How long would you have to play to unlock Darth Vader at 30,000?
So forcing you to buy shit.
Well, not forcing you. You can still play it. But now Darth Vader's 30,000, Boba Fett's 15,000, and like Darth Maul's 10,000. So to unlock them all, you're looking at literally 14, 15 days of playtime in game.
Hey, that sounds similar to I play Madden Mobile on my phone, and you start off with the scrubs. You have to earn the real roster.
But correct me if I'm wrong. I think there's part of this that was this was the big push on this, was that you could play these characters versus the previous Battlefield game, which had it was just original story, bland characters that you make up. You couldn't play as Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader in the original game, and that was part of the big attraction to this one.
Yeah,
play as all your heroes. It says.
This is ultimately a reboot of a game series from 12, 13 years ago. So, I mean, it's people come in with certain expectations. Now, if that was the case, where you had to put all them hours in to unlock those characters, and these characters are super powerful in the game, okay, fine. It sucks. Only the most dedicated people are going to get it, but only the most dedicated people should be rewarded for putting in that amount of time. That's the way I look at it. Well, they introduced what they called loot crates, which is you spend real money and you buy, let's say this is just throwing numbers out, you spend $10, you get 10 crates.
See, here's where I got lost on it, because loot crate is an actual business where you get shit in the mail. Right?
Literally, sometimes shit.
So Loot Crate was distributing a video game, and what happened?
Like an oven mitt that's not meant to be used as an oven mitt.
Right, yeah.
So now you have these, you spend $10, you get 10 loot crates. When you open the loot crates, there's no guarantee of what's in them. You could spend $10 and end up with, and let's just say there's 5 cards per crate, so there's 50 cards, you get 10 crates. And you can end up with 49 of the same card. And you may not end up with any more credits than you ended up with before you spent the real money. So it turned into not just a pay to win, but almost you're gambling your money, which is where the fans said, okay, hold on, time to fuck out. First of all, we are paying $60 for a base game. We're going to pay extra for the season pass, which so far EA says on this game they're going to release content for free in the future. We'll see if they still do that, though, because they've said that before and changed their mind midstream.
What the hell's that? What's going on?
What?
Why does it sound like sound effects are happening? You guys hear that? I'm not
the dumpster fire.
I didn't push any buttons.
I swear to God, I heard a dumpster. I heard fire.
Wait, yeah. What's going?
I thought you were playing a dumpster fire sound effect.
Why is that? What is going on? Hold on. Let me close my program and reopen it. Okay, it went away. So it was that program. All right.
Okay, interesting. I was wondering what that noise was.
My soundboard's haunted. Cool.
All right. So, anyways, now you're paying. The fans are like, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. We'll boycott the game. They went to Reddit.
Wait, can I get some clarification on this though? The season pass, if you pay the season pass price, none of that includes the Darth Vader or any of this other shit?
Nope.
Like that's still all extra on top of the season pass?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
But you have to remember that EA has said that they're not going to do a season pass with this particular game. But what they did in lieu of it was they put a pay to win where you have to pay real money to get these crates, and you never unlock the character in the crates.
Okay, I got
you just unlock the currency. Maybe you unlock the currency you need to get the characters that you want. So the fans, EA put one of their executives basically out there for sacrifice, and they did a Reddit AMA, and he was savaged. So EA, literally 2 or 3 days after release of this game, suspended the loot crate system to where you can't buy anything, and they said they're going to revamp the experience system and how many credits you get per game for playing and make it more fair and less pay to win. The problem is that this game has sold way less than they expected, and in the industry of the video games industry, they're looking at this as the tipping point where gamers have finally said, we're done. We're tired of spending $150 grand total when all's said and done for a game we should have got for $60.
Fucking thing
We're tired of it. And this isn't the first game to do this. This is just, it's Star Wars. Disney's attached to it. Because it's Star Wars, EA is putting the game out, and they're a major player in the video game industry. So you have a whole lot of people who are worried about their corporate image involved in this. And it's amazing because for all the shit we talk, very, very few times does the little guy, the consumer, actually put a dent in these large mega corporations to get them to go, okay, hold on a sec. We have to rethink our entire business model. And that's what's going on. And I mean, to me, it's amazing to watch because this is fans, obviously Star Wars fans of the type of game it is, which is a shooter. It's a first-person shooter. Going, we're not going to do this anymore. I mean, every game that comes out now, you can buy the base game for $60, the enhanced game for $90, the collector's edition for $150, or the ultimate edition for $250.
Enhance.
And I'm just like, this is one game. You might get literally a 3-inch emote statue and a little bit of a bigger box for the $250 collector's edition, and they throw in a CD of behind the scenes making of the game, or a DVD
also,
of it.
You know, correct me if I'm wrong, but you buy the physical game for $60 and you can beat it and turn around and sell it to somebody else or back to GameStop for a decent chunk of what you put into it. I mean, what do you do with your downloadable content? Isn't that just wasted money at that point?
Yeah.
You can't transfer or sell your DLCs.
And that was the theory. The conspiracy theory to some people. To me, it's a solid theory. That's why companies started offering digital downloadable content, because it kept people from selling their games back to GameStop or selling it to a friend.
Right, I'm going to lose this investment in it. When I spent all this money on these characters, if I sell the game, I can't play all that shit either.
Exactly, and another thing they do is they're starting to. They've really gotten wise to this in the last 5 years. They offer what they call digital deluxe editions, to where you'll get only things you can get if you buy the digital edition and download it directly to your console or to your PC. So you never own a physical copy of the game. The digital rights management, the DRM, does not transfer. Does not.
Right. Yep.
Cloud saves will transfer, but the DRM doesn't. So if your Xbox goes tits up on some of these games, you have to either go buy another physical copy, or you have to pay to download it again. Now, Xbox has fixed that by allowing you to set your home Xbox to where anything on that Xbox, if it goes down, you can sign back in to your profile on a new one, make that new one your home Xbox, and you can download everything that you had the rights to before. Mm-hmm. But that was only after they weren't going to do that with this generation of consoles, and PlayStation come out and said, we're doing that, and started out selling Xbox. That's when Xbox finally acquiesced and said, okay, we'll allow that. Microsoft said, we'll allow that to happen. You can do that now. Because Microsoft originally, the Xbox One, you couldn't share
either way.
Yeah. Well, Xbox One, the original presentation at E3, they said, well, we'll be able to share physical copies of games, like loan them to our friends. And they said, no, you're not going to be able to. PlayStation's presentation was like the next day, and someone asked the same question, and the guy on stage said, here's the answer to your question, and he called someone off from the side of the stage. They come out, and he handed him a game, and he goes, that's how easy it is to loan your game to your friend with a PlayStation.
Nice.
Kind of driving the point home, like, yeah, you fucked up, Microsoft. So to me, the bigger story is piss off the wrong people at the right time, and you can actually get some of these companies to at least not just pump the brakes, but to come to a complete stop and go, fuck, we need to completely rethink our business model. Because I'm telling you, huge corporations, that happens so little these days.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can think of is because of the three major players involved: Star Wars, the brand, Disney, who owns Star Wars, and EA. If this was anything but Star Wars, this would just be a blip on the radar. But it's like, you have the new Star Wars movie coming out. The game is tied into the movie. There's rumors that if you play the campaign, you find out who Rey's mother is, that they put it in the game to tie it into the movie. So they're trying to push, that's just a rumor at this point. We won't know until the movie comes out if that's a red herring or it's for real. But, I mean, they're trying to cross-promote all this shit, and it just falls flat. I mean, it's
they
not
think they got you the short and curlies, though. Like, if you're into the Star Wars shit, you're going to have to play this game, and you're not going to wait for the Game of the Year edition to come out that has all the shit on it. You will pay all the money up front. I was looking at a story on this while you were talking real quick, because there's a quote from Paul Kreslin, who was the guy that was on the AMA, that he's the guy from EA who was tasked with handling the questions. He says, lots of people told us we shouldn't do this as it wasn't going to go the way we hoped it would. So
they were correct,
saying like,
dipshit.
This is a bad idea, and obviously there are other people going, no, we can get away with this.
No.
We can definitely get away with this.
This your first day on the internet? You just sign up today? The installer just leave your house?
Yeah, I think
if you just put everything on there and said this game is $120, you could get away with that more than the way that they rolled this out. If they just fucking gouged you from the game from the get, but told you straight up, this is everything. There's not going to be any DLC. There's not going to be any magic boxes to buy or anything like that. But it's $120 fucking bucks because this game is expensive. People go, all right, it's fucking Star Wars, and it's got everything. I'm going to buy it.
Well, one of the things I talked to someone at GameStop probably about a month and a half, 2 months ago about was I asked them, I said, what's the biggest issue you're having with all these different versions of these games, the collector's edition, the blah, blah, blah. And they said, it's parents coming in, or worse yet, grandparents, trying to buy for their grandkids or their kids. And they go, well, I want this game. And our policy is to say, well, there's these versions. 90% of the time they go with the cheapest version. What happens? The kid they take it home, they give it to the kid opens it up, realizes, wait a minute, half the game is locked.
Fucking thanks.
And I need to spend money to unlock it, which the parents aren't going to do. Or the kid's like, well, this isn't the right version. So what do they end up doing? Then the kid begs the parents to take them back to GameStop. You can't exchange the game. Once it leaves, all you can do is exchange it for the exact same game.
Right.
Especially if
or
it's been
sell
open.
it back to them.
So now you got to sell it back to them at a loss and spend even more money to rebuy the version you want. And I'm talking to this guy at GameStop, and I'm going, you realize this is that's some gangster shit, right? That's just straight up fucking your customers. And he's like, there's nothing we can do about it. We're not the one releasing 4 different versions of the game and not explaining it in plain English. And if you're not a gamer, there's some versions of games that come out that I'm like, wait a minute, I don't know what version I'm buying, and I have to do research. And I'm a gamer. Have been my entire life. I remember starting off barely having clear memories, but I remember the Atari 2600 joystick and red button controller. Remember it clear as day. Have played video games all my life, and I'm like, I don't know what version to buy. And I'm not going to go to GameStop, because if I walk in and I ask them, they're going to go, oh shit, we got a sucker on the hook. You're 40 years old and you say you're a gamer and you don't know what version to buy? We're about to fuck you 6 ways till Sunday. We're going to sell you the most expensive shit we can.
I don't know, man. Honestly, I've had really good experience with all the different GameStops that I've been to. I asked their honest opinion on all kinds of shit, because I don't follow any of this stuff. And
do you spend money at GameStop?
I haven't really.
Do you have they ask you your phone number?
I do have a card. I do have a whatever their membership card is. Like it's mostly because buying 3DSs and games for the 3DSs for me and my kids and that. So yeah, I'm not buying the high end consoles and games. I'm not a top spender there.
But you get my point.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to shit on your point. It's just that I've had really good experience with all the employees at GameStop.
Well, if I'm coming in as a parent and I don't have a GameStop membership card, I don't know shit about video games, and they ask me my phone number and I decline to give it to them because I'm like, I don't want to be on your fucking bullshit call or mailing list or whatever the fuck. Whereas versus I walk in and they go, phone number, and I give it to them, that has my entire purchase history since I've had that phone number, and I've had my phone number for over 10 years. I asked the guy, I'm like, does it say how much I spent? And he's like, oh yeah. I'm like, so it's just like anything else, like Guitar Center or anything? He's like, oh yeah, every purchase you've made under this phone number, I can see. He goes, in fact, you've saved like something like $400 and some change being a pro member in your 12 years. And I'm like, yeah, this is definitely a hobby of mine. Like, I spend way too much time doing it, but it's better than some shit I used to do. But, that's what would save my ass walking in doing that. But if I'm just your average guy walking in, parent trying to buy my kid a game, the one thing I noticed, GameStop employees tend to really love gaming, and they're super nerdy about it, but they're not the elitist nerds. For most of them are. So they will help out someone who doesn't know. So I'm with you on that.
They're not like the comic book guy.
But I think what we're finding out here is, or what EA is finding out, because their stock price is down, and they certainly have egg on their face over this rollout, is that there are limits to what you can get away with. Just because you're this, burgeoning behemoth of an industry, that suddenly, everybody who has money is spending a lot of it on video games, doesn't mean that there aren't limits to how far you can push that relationship with your customer. And I think every industry has. I mean, I have a lot of parallel comparisons to comic books because that's something that I keep up with. And, you get your DC and your Marvel gouging you sometimes on like
variant covers shit.
Right. But they have to find where their limits are. What are their customers actually asking for, and what is going to come off as just being greedy? That they have to maintain that. Marvel's the most guilty of it because I think they're the most guilty of having this attitude, much like the Star Wars or anybody that's handling the Star Wars property, which also Marvel is handling, which I guess is all Disney now. But we're Marvel Comics. What are you going to do? Not read Marvel? You're going to buy whatever we put out there. We put fucking Wolverine in a comic. You're going to fucking buy it because what are you going to do? Not follow Wolverine?
You're going to go read the other Spider-Man? No.
But I think they do find a point where people are willing to go, you know what? I don't give a fuck about Wolverine that much.
Yeah.
I don't need to. Like the crossover that they're doing coming up in January, they have 3 different versions of the Avengers books, only one of which I'm following on the regular. And all those are going away, and for 3 months they're having a weekly Avengers story where all those 3 books come together in one book titled Avengers that starts, randomly numbered at like 600 or something for reasons that they can make up. And then who knows what happens at the end of that. So I have to make a decision. Do I want to now up my 1 Avengers book a month up to 4 Avengers books a month so that I can continue to find out what happens in this book, what's going to happen with these, or do I just say, fuck it, I don't want to read any of this? Because there's a reason I'm not buying the other 2 Avengers books. I don't care about those characters, or I don't follow that writer, I don't like the artist, whatever it is, and they're all combining on this one story. So, there's marketing, there's finding ways to cross-promote within your own business, and then there's just straight-up gouging that crosses the line with that relationship that you have with your customers.
Definitely. And I mean, it's not just limited to something like Star Wars. Case in point, Chris, let me ask you a question. When's the last time you bought a Madden video game?
2012, maybe 13.
They might have started doing this. I'm not sure if they had started. Now it's just a staple of the Madden games. If you want to play franchise and your console is connected to the internet, which is pretty much, it has to be almost at this point, they have what they call connected franchises. Whereas, when we were kids, we wanted to play a franchise. You pick a team, you play a season, maybe if it was a deep game, you could go and play, 20 seasons into the future and draft people. Now they have every game you want to, you got to train players up for the upcoming game, but you only get so many points to train them up. Well, you want more points? You got to buy Madden points with real money through the EA store.
Yeah, that sounds annoying.
And on top of that, if you are playing a connected franchise, you are online. So you're playing other people. It's not a single person franchise. So
the last Madden I bought, the one with Calvin Johnson on the cover, I believe.
So that was the one that came out in 2011, I believe.
There's one more. I bought one when I lived in this house, but then I started this. My video game just went away.
But I mean, you see my point. Like, if you're playing a franchise and you're playing people, you're forced to play people online who are willing to pay the money.
You're going to get roasted.
Yeah. I mean, even if they suck, they can now pay real money to train players to where instead of, let's say, a 79 rating for the game they play they boosted their stats to 99. So even if they suck, it's deep balls all day long. Every play is a fucking Hail Mary, and these motherfuckers are making Bionic Man jumps to get it and shit. And you're like, what the fuck? The only way I can compete is if I spend real world money. Or I can't enjoy my favorite part of this game, which is, for a guy like me, I love the franchise part of sports games. I love drafting, trading players, rebuilding the franchise, et cetera, et cetera. And that's EA owns NHL, Madden, FIFA. The only thing they don't have the rights to is Major League Baseball. And that's it. So, I mean, any sports game goes through EA. And now EA is starting to get into a lot of role-playing games. And guys, do I even need to tell you, Aaron, you've played enough role-playing games. You know how much extra shit and the potential for exploitation of charging people for extra shit.
There are people who make their living just doing what, collecting experience points, building up characters, collecting gold, whatever it is that you have to achieve with a lot of time on the game. If it's a big enough game, there's people out there that are making decent livings just building up characters, building up games for people.
Well, I remember when WoW first swept the nation. And I was a manager.
My kid still plays it.
I was a manager working with a bunch of like early 20-somethings, like late teenage, like just right in the demo that WoW was. So it swept the place I was managing. Everyone was fucking playing it. And I remember being befuddled because one of my people came in and told me that he paid real money for fake money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, wait, you gave someone real money and they gave you fake video game money? He's like, yes. And he was like, it was awesome, and I got as much gold as I needed to get this and do this and that. I'm like, but you paid real money for fake money. I don't think I was an old fogey yet. I was like 26 at the time.
Right.
I couldn't wrap my head around it. I'm like,
no, I bet you even the game developers didn't predict that. Like, when people, whatever company makes World of Warcraft, when they started hearing stories about people paying real money for in-game money, they were like, ding, like a big old light bulb went off over their heads.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
That definitely seems to have set the pace for video games. Now, okay, so here's the question that I have now, though. We started off talking about this EA game, the Star Wars related game, and a big part of this is it has to do with Star Wars, right? Because if this was some first generation of game with characters that nobody had ever heard of, doesn't matter how fucking cool it was, they would have never even tried to pull this shit, right? They would have actually probably been bending over backwards trying to get people to play the game. But because it's a known property that people that are already attracted to, that allows them to feel like they can push the limits of that relationship. Now, this doesn't seem to be the same way when it comes to the movies, though. It seems like, I guess I wonder if there is a limit to how much Star Wars fans are willing to put up with, or if there is one. We're going to get the third of the new trilogy.
Oh, I imagine the next month is going to be insufferable with promotion.
2 years after that, we'll have the other movies too, but 2 years after that, we'll have the conclusion of this trilogy. And we know that, what's his name, Rian Johnson, is going to be doing a whole nother trilogy of movies after this, not Skywalker related. We'll still have to see what the Han Solo movie. They could do whatever the fuck they want. They're working on a TV show, a live action TV show, as well. Right. But, and you may think like, okay, there's going to be a certain point where this just breaks down, where people are like, I've had enough Star Wars for a while. Nope. It can go back into the vaults. But I'm like, bitch, we're on year 10 of Marvel, and they do 3 movies a year now, and they all are blockbusters. They all rule the weekend when they come out. Even the ones that aren't breaking records are still dominating the box office on the weekend that they come out.
Yep.
So, Batman vs. Superman still made a shit ton of money.
And, absolutely. And yet when it comes to, it's not to say that the movie industry in general isn't suffering some or is fearful of, certain technologies or big screen TVs or downloading or whatever have you that keeps people from going out to see the movies in the theaters the opening weekend like they want them to. They are looking at ways to enhance that experience, between the movie studios and the movie theaters themselves. And it used to be you paid your regular price for your ticket. I mean, back in the day, it was like $5, $6 if you saw it at night. And you sat on a seat that folded up, right? You had to flip it down, and it maybe had a little cushion to it, and it was definitely sticky. And, hopefully you had access to one of the cup holders, but they could be taken up by your neighbors. And now just about any theater you go to, it's a nice cushy chair that leans back, kick your legs up, plenty of room. And not only that, have you heard about the 4D theaters where your seats actually move around?
Yeah.
They blast like scents at you and snow and a little bit of mist when it rains in the movie and all this thing to add to the experience,
Kong Island. I was listening to the radio and someone from a morning show went to go see Kong Island, and they didn't realize they were going to get sprayed with mist. They were all pissed off because it covered their glasses, and they were like, I'm missing the scene because I'm trying to wipe my glasses. And I'm like, what the fuck is all this? Who's spitting at me? And shit like that. Yeah. So yeah,
So I don't know. I don't know what the bigger point is that I'm driving at here, other than I don't think that the movie theater, the movie business seems to be in a different mode, right? They've already been through the ups and downs and are realizing that there is a definite limit to their relationship with their customers, and they've seen where that is. And, I think that we get better movies for it, and we're getting an increased experience to keep people from actually, going out and spending their money on this product.
But at the same time, you can also, it's a choice. You can buy a regular ticket for the regular movie. You don't have to see the 4D or the 3D movie.
That's absolutely. Or there's there's going to be a secret scene in the 3D version, though. You want to see the 3D because it's got an alternate ending or something like that.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, it's the same product, just enhanced, which, this is why, as annoying as it was when I started seeing microtransactions for cosmetic things, I was like, does it really fucking matter? No. Okay, you're playing a game online, someone's character looks cool, and you're like, oh shit, you might message them, hey, where'd you get that armor set? Oh, it's, you got to buy it from EA or whatever. And you're like, oh, well, then fuck that. I'm not getting that armor set. No big loss.
I think it was the Loot Crate part of it that got them in more trouble, could get them in more potential trouble. Because you're essentially gambling, right?
Exactly. Some politicians looking into it because he's like, this is gambling flat out. You're paying money, not for a guaranteed product, for the chance of getting this product. And the odds are very much stacked against you to get what you're paying for.
Right. Whereas, if you wanted to compare it to, baseball cards, Yeah, well, I didn't really collect the sports cards, but there were cards for everything when I was a kid. So, pick your favorite movie. Fucking Close Encounters of the Third Kind had baseball cards, fucking pictures on them. And, you would get, it would say on there'd be some special foil version or holographic card that, you had a chance of getting in there. And sure, you might take all of your allowance money and you spend it all on buying all the Star Wars cards, you might end up with no foil cards, and you're bummed.
Hey, they did that with Magic the Gathering.
But you still
hide cards in certain decks.
You still have $5 worth of cards, right? To collect. If you get doubles, you can trade them.
Hey, you can
whatever. You still have something for it. You gambled on whether you're going to get a certain aspect of that card, a certain version of it, but it wasn't like, hey, pay 50 cents for this pack, and you may open it up, and it has absolutely nothing inside of it except for a piece of cardboard.
True. Yeah.
Or it may have a really cool card in it.
Open it up, it's 25 blank pieces of cardboard. What the fuck?
You would never just get nothing. that would be gambling. You're totally gambling on either I'm going to get something or I'm not. I'm going to keep playing until I do get something.
You'd never not have enough mana
cards. That's what they want you to do.
Magic the Gathering.
It's not only gambling in that aspect, it's gambling in the intent of of EA. Their intent was for you to gamble on it and spend a bunch of money trying to get the one that you wanted.
Yeah, and I mean, full disclosure, I've had to rein in my video game buying because it was like any other thing that it could get with an addictive personality. It can get very easy to have a bookshelf full of games that I bought that I haven't touched yet. And I might never get around to touching before the next console generation comes. And then I'm like, well, fuck it. Now I got to get the new thing. I don't want this old thing to play, and those games don't get played.
Yeah. Now you're going to have to buy the 4K version of everything.
No, fuck that. I refuse. Until absolutely I have to. I won't buy. Sorry, 4K. It does not impress me all that much. It just doesn't. It's sorry, Jay, if you're listening. I'm sorry. I know you tried to sell me on it a few years ago. I beat it. I was like, maybe I'm going blind.
I don't know.
I don't see all that much of a difference. It's not enough. It's not enough to go spend $600 on the exact same Xbox with 4K capability that I already have.
I do know that, I don't have a new TV, but I got a decent TV. I'm satisfied with it. It's not huge, but it looks all right, and it's still, far better than anything that I grew up with. But I got a new iPhone, and it's making my TV look like fucking shit.
I mean, yeah, my one TV's starting to go. The blues and the blacks are starting to do the thing where they, where they blur. But I'm still like, fuck it,
Panasonic.
Dude. I'm still like, fuck it, it works. Turns on. I can still watch shit.
I'd spring for a new one.
To me, a TV is broken when it no longer turns on. Maybe, again, I'm still getting used to having money. But, hey, it turns on. Fuck shit. Works in my world.
I'm with you. Before the flat panel TVs became a thing, my dad had a big screen, huge, ridiculously heavy CRT TV. And when he got a new one, he passed it down to me. And this thing, for whatever reason, emitted a high-pitched whine when the colors were real light on the screen. And I watched a lot of
I know
hockey.
what you're talking about. Yep.
So with all that white ice, you just heard like tinnitus. And I already have tinnitus, so it didn't bother me. But people would come over to my house. I'm like, hey, man, I got this fucking 50-inch TV. Come check it out. And they come in and they go, dude, how the fuck can you watch this shit? Don't you hear that I'm like, I hear it all the time. I got tinnitus.
I was like, you have like 25 dogs circling your house, howling, man.
No, seriously.
No, I know.
To drive people nuts.
Yeah, I've had a TV that would do that, and it baffled me. It was when the screen was mostly white, it would do that. So it was always for anything advertised to old people.
Yeah.
It was always done like a person in front of a white background and then a bunch of words on a white background because they want the high contrast for people with low vision. And my TV would just scream. I never understood what made it do that. But that is my favorite part about the new generation of TVs is that they are quiet.
Oh yeah. Well, here's the bitch.
Even the ones that you couldn't hear, you still knew whether they were on or not with your eyes closed.
Yeah, definitely. They had a sound to them. And I try to explain that to people who I work with who are real young, and they're like, sound? TVs don't, unless you turn them up, they don't have sound. And
Bullshit.
I'm like, guys,
they used to.
Like,
you could have the sound all the way down on the TV. I could go upstairs.
You could tell it was on
when you turn on and off the TV.
Yes.
Here's the better one. Sometimes on the real old TVs, you could still hear it even after you turned it off.
Right. Yeah, it would seem to wind down. It would gradually drop away.
Yeah. Thinking about some of my parents' old TVs, absolutely.
Them big old console TVs, yeah.
I wonder if it had something to do with the capacitors on that, because that's what's going to hold the electric charge the most in your internal circuitry. And maybe it was just that the capacitor slowly discharging that's what we were hearing. I don't know.
Here's something I've figured out about myself, at least when it comes to TVs. I went out a couple Christmases ago and picked up a 40-inch flat panel TV around Christmas for like $89. High definition, all this shit. My previous one was like a 27-inch. It only went up to like 720. This one was 1080. So I was like, okay, hooked up everything to it and was like, oh, okay. And then quickly disconnected all my video game shit and went back to my $250 gaming monitor.
It just looked better.
It looked better, quicker response, no lag.
Yeah.
None of the blur that happens with fast motion.
Yep.
And even when my cat knocked over that TV that I was just telling you about that I bought, and I bought like top of the line, I still play on my $250 gaming monitor. I watch TV on my gaming monitor, or movies is what not TV, movies and shit. And I think it doesn't have a better picture, but it's just, there's a point where it's like, man, it's just too fucking big. Like, I don't live in a mansion. Like, I'm sitting 5 feet away from the TV. I don't need it to take up my entire field of vision. You know, I don't. Yeah. It's just like I go to a movie theater. I used to sit in the front row at movie theaters before I would, and people go, "Why?" I'm like, "Because I'm blind and I can never keep a pair of glasses." Well, then I grew up and was able to keep a pair of glasses. Now I sit like to the middle to the back. I don't sit up front. I don't have to anymore.
Same here.
You know, I can see.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't have to be up front.
Is where I will sit when I go see the Star Wars.
Yeah, I've been eyeballing some the TVs, so I'm probably going to buy a new one next year. And your standard size now is 55 inches. Like, where the fuck am I going to put 55 inches of TV? Like, I'm gonna have to knock down a wall to get a comfortable viewing angle on that shit.
Now I know what it feels like to be one of them Mandingo black guys that got like 15 inches of cock. Where am I going to put all this?
Right.
The average pussy's 4 inches deep. What am I going to do with this thing?
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed this, but my head is only about 8 inches deep.
But gaming is weird. To me, gaming is better on 27 to like 32 inch gaming monitors or televisions. And they used to be a little bit more expensive than TVs in comparable to size. Now they're getting to the point where unless you get the super extended monitors, they're cheaper than TVs that size. Well, if that's the case, and they have all the inputs that I need, and I can mount them on the wall if I want to, I don't need a 55-inch TV. First of all, my entertainment center is an enclosed one. I got a 47-inch, I think. I have barely a half an inch of clearance on the sides.
Yeah. Well, you think there's an aspect to this, too, where there's at a certain point when your screen gets so big, it's more difficult to track everything that's going on?
Oh, definitely.
You have to actively look around more to be aware of your surroundings and say like a first-person shooter type game. Like it seems to be a lot easier to track on a smaller screen right in front of you.
My computer monitor, my gaming monitor, is curved, and that wasn't a selling point when I bought it. It was just on sale.
Ooh.
It was yeah, I know. It was really rated high for gaming, and it had really low lag input and all this and all this technical bullshit. I was like, I don't know what half of it means, but it sounds fucking awesome. All right, yeah, and I can get it for half price. Fuck yeah! Now that
when you get mad and throw it, it comes back to you.
No. Everything's way too expensive to throw anything anymore. I go to throw a controller and I'm like, ooh, that's $80.
Right. Yeah, I know, right?
Set that controller down gently, like, come here, where's the cat? I'll yell at that.
They gotta build a little drone like helicopter thing into the controller so you can whip them. They just take off and fly back to you.
But yeah, but now that I've played games on a curved monitor, because when I was, when you're just working on it, I'm like, I don't really feel much of a difference. Gaming, it honestly helps a little bit because
it's hitting your G-spot.
On a flat, yeah, I know it's reaching up in there, and it's like, oh, yeah, there it is, milking my prostate for me. Yeah, But no, it's like, if you got your, in games, especially shooters, you have your radar usually in the corner and you got stats up in the corners that you need to keep an eye on, plus keep an eye on everything that's going on. A curved monitor, I'm like, oh, I get it now. This is why you see I know, Chris, please, you're going to laugh at me. The pro gamers, the esports guys, but now I'll use them. I get it now. At the same time, I'm not as good as them, so I'm just like, well, it's like going and buying a jersey. Yeah, I know it. Yeah. Hey, didn't we cover this as Sporgy? Aren't you supposed to somehow look at his dick?
I've been looking for that all episode. I don't know where that is. It might be on my fucking external.
Well, anyways, Aaron, you sent a link that I think is really interesting. That
which one was that?
The shirt at Walmart. Says rope period, tree period, journalist period, some assembly required.
Right. So, Walmart Walmart's going up against Amazon, right? So Walmart is pairing up with a lot of smaller companies that will put their stuff on the Walmart site. I mean, a lot of sites are doing this. If I want to put together a new computer on Newegg.com, it'll have there's some things that are distributed by Newegg, and then they've got I don't know how many different dozens of partners that they work with that it looks like you're buying it from Newegg, but it ends up shipping from Tom's buttfuck computer repair in Walla Walla, Washington or something. I don't know. So Walmart got into some trouble for there was something like some rainbow colored Iron Cross thing or something weird like that went up, and they were like, oh, that's embarrassing, let's take that down. And they said that they were actually going to have more control over it. They were going to take a closer look at what their third-party vendors were putting up for sale on their site, which you think would be a concern from the get. You have a whole division of buyers that's their job is to buy the appropriate things to feature in the store, and therefore it would now be on the website. But apparently they don't really look at the things that come from third-party vendors, and this is one of them. I mean, I don't want to sound naive, but it was kind of shocking just to me that shirt existed. And about journalists, I can understand thinking that this paper is corrupt or skewed. They have to print these types of stories because they're owned by this person, or I don't trust that journalist.
It's those Lugenpressen assholes.
But the idea that just anybody that is interested in the field of journalism has some ulterior motive to push, a story that's handed down to them by somebody. I don't know what the greater fear is of just flat out journalism.
That surprises you? This is a thing.
You are fake news.
That's how that guy got elected, is that segment of society, man. Trust me, I know I'm part of it, so I think.
I guess it won't
I'm not
cease
trying to pat
shock
myself
me
on
that
the
it
back here,
inspires violence in somebody, though.
I think I'm the most cynical person on this podcast when it comes to the media, but I'm with you there. People want to scream about freedom of expression with taking that T-shirt off Walmart's website. Well, haven't we all said that isn't the line when you incite violence? I think that's pretty damn cut and dry right there.
Yeah.
I mean, if it said rope tree African American.
Yeah.
Yes.
If it said rope tree homosexual, I mean, look, I'm damn near an absolutist when it comes to freedom of speech. But I mean, there is a point where,
to me, this shirt falls under you can't do that.
You know what? This is how I look at it. and this is my little sliver, half-ass sliver of libertarianism comes in. Can you still buy the shirt someplace else? Then it's no one's freedom of speech is being fucked with. The government isn't saying you can't sell the shirt.
Yeah, and we also, again, the water always gets muddied with, not with us. We're always the guys that are pointing this out. It always gets muddied with, they're a private fucking business. Walmart can go, I don't want to sell this. They can. They are allowed to. We always forget about that. Just because we have the right to free expression doesn't mean Walmart has to sell your T-shirt.
Well, there's the problem is, I think it's perceived as, to the hardcore Trumpers that are, you're with us or against us, there is no in between, that this might be perceived as Walmart is biting the hand that feeds them. Because Walmart is pretty much universally looked at as the whiskey tango and poor people shopping place.
Hey, it's a mentality we already talked about on this episode. Where else are you going to shop poor people?
I mean, I have family who go, I shop at Walmart because I have to.
Yeah.
One, it's the only place that offers everything I need, and especially when you live in the boonies.
I was going to say, as someone who travels the country a lot and has been in a lot of small fucking towns, a lot of times, this is the only thing around.
Yeah. Meijer is not a thing when you go down south for the most part.
No.
I saw one Meijer in Florida all the years I spent down there.
Was it a Thrifty Acres? Was it that old?
It might have been. It was on the outskirts of Orlando, and it was an old. When I went into the Meijer, I was like, "Oh shit, this looks like like an old Kmart." I mean, it's what it looked like inside. Like, when you walk in and you just think like, I just walked into a 1970s store.
Everybody that works there is a year away from collecting a Social Security check.
But yeah, I mean,
I have no problem going. I
don't either.
Myers because
I'm cheap and proud of it.
Well, yeah, no, but they also don't have horrible business practices like Walmart does. I've known people who've worked for the company. They don't take advantage of them the same way. But anyway, I'm sorry.
I'm with you on that. I mean, look, I grew up in a family that was very. My grandfather was a Teamster. My father was a Teamster. My other grandfather retired from Detroit Diesel. I have three, all three of my uncles worked at Detroit, not Detroit Diesel, but for, the big three, they were all part of the auto union. And even though they're all, for the most part, they were all very right-leaning, they still were, big union guys. So it was beaten in my head from a young age. Meijer is a union store.
Yeah.
So you go, if you have the opportunity, go shop there. Support a union store. And I mean, that was, when I was younger, that was a deciding factor. Now it's just, I've seen too many documentaries. I've talked to too many people that have worked at Walmart. I know the shit they pull on their employees. It's not even really their business practices outside of the store in the corporate boardroom. Because at a certain point, you got to grow up and realize if you're living in a country like America, we're all taking advantage of somebody to get what the things we use and consume every single day. All right, somebody's living like shit so we can have it easy. Mm-hmm. And you just either make your peace with it or you just ignore reality about it.
Bill Maher hit on something on his last show of the season that I think always kind of gets muddied. Poor people don't give a shit about ethics.
Having ethics is considered having privilege in order to have.
Well, I should
ethics.
say they don't give a shit about ethics coming from things that they patronize.
I used to say
they give a shit about what's taking less out of my wallet.
I used to say this all the time. Idealism is for teenagers and rich people because poor people can't afford to be idealistic, and old people have seen too much. Scratch the surface of a cynic, and you find a severely disappointed idealist.
Yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Quite honestly, I was a lot more idealistic when we first met, Rich.
Same here. And Carlin said it. I don't know if he was the first to say it. He might have been repeating it, but I agree with him. The older I get, the more cynical I get, and to me it's not even at this point. It's not even. It's an involuntary response. It's like putting your hand on a hot stove and pulling it away.
You know what'll kill ideals really quickly? And then white privilege. Having to pay your own bills. As you start paying your own bills, your ideals go away real quickly. The electric company isn't going to take. Ideals aren't keeping your lights on. Ideals aren't taking you to the grocery store every couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean,
ideals aren't putting gas in your fucking car.
That's one of the things I go through with a coworker. She's going into the teaching field, and she's going into physical education / health, and 90% of the time, boy, she got a comment about something I'm eating or drinking or whatever, and I'm like, I don't have the money anymore to run to 15 different stores to find the best deals on the freshest of everything and make sure that it's cruelty-free, free-range, organic, non-GMO, whatever the fuck. And on top of that, I don't look at death as something that is to be avoided anymore. It's inevitable. And I don't know, maybe this is like too nihilistic for the podcast. I look around and this really ain't a world I want to be in 40 years. I hardly want to be in it now.
But the world's going to be so much different in 40 years.
Yeah, I'm sorry. In 40 years, the only two genders are going to be Cool Ranch and nacho cheese flavored Doritos. And I'm not.
And you're not going to give a fuck.
And this is an interesting subject because we had Todd on last week.
Yeah.
And we all really drank deeply from the fuck social media, for the most part, cup. With Aaron definitely being the one who had the most optimism, as Todd like to point out. But one of the things that I was thinking of since that episode was, is it really so bad to get lost in technology? I mean, we've all seen The Matrix. When I can't remember his character, I just remember Joey Pants, the actor, Joey Pantaloma, whatever his name is.
Yep.
When he's like, just put me back in The Matrix. I don't want to know about any of this shit anymore. I'm eating this steak. I know it tastes good to me, but I know it's not real. Fuck this. I just want to go back to the way things were. I mean, is it so fucking wrong to not want to deal with the horse shit and to want to escape? I mean, and
that's the thing, is that we're currently primed for that behavior. We are raising generations of people that are told to make their own reality, to make their own story, to make their something of themselves. So, I mean, pretty soon we're going to have the technology to just do that.
I mean, just as an aside, something that Todd and I had talked about, and I don't think I'm talking out of school, sharing this conversation with you, because we'd said we were going to bring it up and we just got sidetracked. But, one of the things that I do for this podcast, no one asked me to. It's completely voluntary, so I only have myself to blame. Let's just get that out in the open. I don't want to hear anybody say anything. Well, you don't have to do it. You're right. I don't. I choose to. One of the things I do is I dip my toe into the fucking parts of the internet that most people don't even know exist. I lurk in groups and watch shit and watch people post things from all over the political spectrum, all over the ideological spectrum, that are fucking absolutely reprehensible to me, and pretty much are to most people on a day-to-day basis. And it burns you out. It's really hard to stare into the abyss and eventually not have a man fuck it attitude start to develop. Just as when you play guitar, to protect themselves, your fingers develop calluses. Just to do this shit, you almost have to harden yourself and have a I don't give a fuck attitude. And I don't I don't give a fuck attitude very well, so I'm always trying to keep myself from burning out. And if someone came to me and said, take this fucking, put this headset on, put this on, put this on, and you can be anybody you want to be in any period of time you want to be. It's that simple. There's no lifestyle change. There's nothing you have to do. It's just a choice. Do this, and all your wildest dreams could be fucking yours. And it's not real, but it's the next best thing. Your mind and your senses won't know the difference. Would I take that offer? Yeah. At this point, I don't know if I wouldn't.
Well, Rich, I understand where you're coming from on this. I've certainly, I do my fair share of, reading the Twitter comments, looking at shit on 4chan or Reddit or what have you, reading things that I find absolutely reprehensible, just disgusting. And, a lot of times too, this is a lot of posturing. The reason that certain shocking things are being said online, a lot of it is they don't not say it in real life because they're scared. It's because they don't really mean it, and they're just looking to have some shock value. That's where your true meaning of the troll comes from there. But I don't see it as a binary option of either choose to just not read those posts, not to look up that information, not to absorb any of this stuff, versus just going into despair at the state of the world. I mean, I feel like while some of it is, like I described in our conversation with Todd, a bit of scab-picking behavior, a little bit of compulsive behavior, flicking the tooth that hurts a little bit, or whatever your analogy is. There's maybe a little bit of that, but I do feel like there is a just greater awareness of the people that exist in the world and what goes through their mind. Because, the people who truly believe some of these horrible things that they're saying, their brains are wired different than yours and I's and most people that I come in contact with. And, this reminds me of another subject that I wanted to bring up, because there's a story in the New York Times about, what was it called? Like your Nazi next door or something like that.
Excuse me,
right?
The failing New York Times, if you please.
Yes, I'm sorry. Failing New York Times had a story, and that got much criticism because it was a story about the Nazi next door. I believe was the name of the story.
You'd think we would have learned, from a year ago, this alarmist language does not help, but continue.
Well, this is a guy he's a Nazi. This isn't like some Trump supporter who's anti-immigrant and they're like, well, he's a Nazi. Like, he's got Mein Kampf on the bookshelf. So, but he also, I don't know what else. They listen to smooth jazz, shops at Whole Foods. I don't know what the fuck. It doesn't matter.
Large proponent of khakis.
He does, he fits in with society. He blends in, right? And so the author of the story was getting just lambasted for normalizing this extremist. For in what a lot of people's eyes was taking something that was completely reprehensible, and just by putting it out there as something that, hey, this is just a guy that you could run. This isn't some freak on the corners of the internet sitting in his basement spewing nonsense. He's got a job, and he goes to work, and he brings home the bacon. Oh, sorry.
But none of that kosher Jew bacon.
Right.
No turkey bacon for him.
And to me, this was just information, right? This is information that you should know. If you're concerned about this, if you are concerned about Nazis in America. Whether you think it's a rising problem or whether it's just something that is there, that has always been there, and we are just now acknowledging. Either way, if you think that that's something that needs to be dealt with head on, well, this is how you start to deal with it. You have to understand who the fuck you're talking to. And you're not talking about... We've always seen the David Duke types in this country. The guys that are unapologetically racist. And we've easily identified those. That's not the problem. The problem is there's a lot of people whose ideology lines up with that type of thinking that only speak about it online, and meanwhile, drive a fucking hybrid car or some shit, so they blend in. They're not fucking blending in, they're just people that have some very wrong and dangerous thoughts in their heads. That doesn't mean that they spend all the rest of their time like writing a manifesto or getting a new swastika tattooed on their body somewhere. This is the fact that because this person wrote a story about a Nazi and didn't go over and over the fact that this is wrong, this is horrible, this person is a monster, that just presented it with like, here's a guy who could live next door to you and have these bizarre thoughts that you think that only come from these extremists that you feel like you can easily identify because they all shave their heads. I don't know. It seems really bizarre to me that it would anger so many people, that it would come off with the idea that the New York Times is pro-Nazi, or that this writer is pro-Nazi.
Yeah, that conservative.
Do we have to fucking have
rag.
that conversation? Yeah.
The New York Times.
It really shouldn't.
Conservative mouthpiece.
I understand what you're saying. It's
right. It's like if I say, that Nazi has really pretty eyes. I'm a Nazi sympathizer. I'm just pointing out. There's a Nazi over there. He also has really pretty eyes.
But
might give a hell of a blowjob.
Here's something that
hey, I'm not getting head for no Nazi. That's where I draw the line.
I don't know what she looked like. I mean,
does she look like Tommy Lahren?
I can fuck Nazi.
We're talking a girl Nazi? Maybe.
Yeah. I'd fuck a what's her face who was in American History X. I mean, and I'm convinced she wasn't even acting in that movie, but that's just me.
But do you understand? There's a reason why I brought that up, because there's this idea for me that is about, I want to know who these people are, and I think either we really want to handle this problem and figure out what's at the core of it, or we just eventually want to get tired of it and make it go away.
No,
and the way that we deal with it is a lot more of like, they just need to go away. They just need to get off Twitter. If we get all the Nazis off Twitter and we stop reporting about them like they're normal people, then they'll go back to just being in their Klan rallies and shit.
But where I'm from, making something go away doesn't... The way to do that doesn't include giving it a whole bunch of attention.
Guys, wait a minute. Time out.
Yes. Okay, yes.
All right. Let's look at the facts. There are, according to a recent article I read, I think it was in the Washington Post. If I'm misquoting it, my bad. It's totally on me. I didn't think this was going to come up. I didn't think I needed to have it bookmarked. Supposedly there are 6,000 card-carrying members of the Ku Klux Klan in this country at this point.
Okay, yeah.
All right. 6,000.
That's not a lot.
Now.
I mean, per capita.
What is considered Nazis these days, all right, was not considered Nazi 20 years ago. Nazi these days, to a lot of people, is anyone who supports Trump.
By the way, that's smaller group, 0.0002% of the population.
To a smaller group of people, a Nazi is anyone who isn't completely in lockstep with the progressive agenda. And then you have the very tiny group that is like, anyone who isn't, communist / anarchist or whatever the fuck. They're all fascist and Nazis. What I'm getting at is
you have to accept both things. So, if you're going to accept that there's a sliver of real Nazis, then you have to accept that there's a sliver of real liberals that are willing to call the rest of the spectrum Nazis just because they voted for Trump. I mean, that is not the majority of the left's view of Trump supporters. Those are extremists as well.
The problem is, and I don't know how anyone can argue this, the majority of the mainstream media, very, very left-leaning. I'm not, and I'm not talking online media. I'm not talking that part of the Fourth Estate. I'm talking the old guard.
I think, it's almost by definition it has to be, because the left seems to be more progressive about basic human rights, and so is the media. And so is... Yeah.
And when you have that, and then you have someone like Fox News who shows up in the mid-90s, and almost every person who spearheaded the Fox network and Fox News also were, key players in getting rid of the fairness doctrine and the corollary rules in 2000. That allows the media to present an agenda instead of, we're going to present the facts, and if we present one side, we're going to present the other. Now you have a media attacking the mainstream media, the old guard, and what does the mainstream media do? It does what exactly anyone who's under attack does. It fights back. And so now sides have been drawn up. So there's the division, and that started roughly 20 years ago, all right? That division had already been started in higher education. Go back and look at the movie PCU, which came out in 1994. That was considered
satire.
A satire of something that could never happen.
Now it's documentary.
That is exactly. All right. And now you got people on the left who insist everything is about identity, whether it be their race, their gender, their sexual orientation, and they use it as a weapon to beat on everyone who's not part of their group, and they get shocked when people start fighting back and using the same shit against them that's been used against them in the first place. Are you really shocked that that your everyday average garden variety pedestrian racist who walks around going, I live in a predominantly white neighborhood, I have no problem with Jamal who works at the oil change place, because his daughter don't fuck my son, and my son don't fuck his daughter, and everything's good, and all that shit, as long as they stay on their side of the town. That's your everyday pedestrian racist in America. That's your average racist.
Right.
Okay, now you start calling that person a Nazi. Now you start attacking everything about that person. Now you start telling that person who might be dirt poor that they have privilege by the very virtue and nature of their birth. You attack them with all this shit, and when they come back and they go, well, if everything is in your opinion, I am is wrong because I'm white, then fuck you. I'm gonna fucking fight for my white rights.
I think
you're setting up a situation where there's no other ideology to fight about. It is, you're white, you're straight, you got a dick. You're evil. Well, then don't be shocked when white, straight people with dicks start fighting back at anyone who's not them.
I think we can get even more, and me, because I'm a simple man, I always boil it down to simpler terms, but it's something we've said on this show before. I think it all comes down to stop telling me I'm a shitty person because I don't think like you. That's essentially what is going on both sides. From each side.
This is...
Right side, left side.
There are really shitty points of view. Need to be confronted.
I'm not saying that not a thing. I'm saying just because our beliefs don't line up. I mean, whatever happened to live and let live?
How about this, guys? This is my point. 6,000 card-carrying Ku Klux Klan members make up flyers that say they need to exterminate blackness, and somehow this finds its way into the consciousness of the mainstream media. All right, so all of a sudden there's hysteria. Okay, we got to get rid of the KKK. KKK is a terrorist organization. And the threat of 6,000 people is now blown up to make it feel like, by the media, that it's half the country's walking around saying they want to eradicate blackness.
Well, look at Charlottesville. The media would have had you believe every straight white male within a 100-mile radius was at that thing.
And I have fucking from left, I'm talking hard left videos on YouTube, screenshots, and I'll post them on the Unregimented page of the dozens of people on the in support of the Nazis that showed up. Literally, we're talking 50, 60 people. That's it, guys. That's it. The opposition was there in the hundreds, all right? Yet they played the victim card. We're the victims here. Look at these evil white men trying to take... No, it's a bunch of fucking idiots. Treat them as such, and they'll go away. We've proven that for fucking 70 years since World War II. You idiots are so fucking focused on this bullshit identity politics crap that you can't go, yes, it's a fucking busload and a half of morons out here. You know what you do? You let them get up there with their bullhorn. People ignore them, and they fucking leave. They leave. No problem. You get hundreds of people out there, half of whom is pissed off because they've been sold this fucking fairy tale that, these people wake up in the morning and their bank accounts are filled to the brim with gold and everything else just by virtue of the color of their skin at birth. And so they're pissed off. And so it's a bunch of horse shit. You got two sides that are exactly the same fighting each other, and everybody's getting caught up in the middle of this shit. And it's like like we were talking about with the sexual harassment shit. You can't say, look, there is a lot of subjects that fall under this umbrella. There is a lot of things that are all connected that we need to deal with as a society. If you say that, you're victim shaming. You can't say to people who are just entrenched in identity politics, look, stop with this shit. If the first thing out of your mouth when you stand up is, as a black woman, as a gay furry, as a whatever the fuck. No, how about this? As a human being, as an individual, why don't you try saying those words? But we can't, because somehow that's attacking them.
You're marginalizing.
What do you expect to happen? That shit I sent you from the University of Texas school paper talking about eradicate whiteness. That is flat out racist propaganda. Any school that put that out that said eradicate blackness, eradicate.
We're back to my theory. If you can't do it the other way, if you can't fill in another name in it.
It's not a theory. It's the fucking truth.
Yes.
It's just as racist, but they've redefined words. We can't be racist. Only white people can. White people can't experience racism. Oh, so you take away the ability to victimize your victims, and it justifies your actions. Isn't that the same thing the fucking Nazis did to the Jews before they started rounding them up? And I'm not comparing the two and saying that white people are going to get rounded up, but this is how you dehumanize an entire group of people. And let me tell you something. There's a lot of people down south. There's a lot of people in the woods of Michigan and Minnesota and upstate New York more than happy to fucking meet those people on some form of battlefield. Trust me. They go to sleep dreaming of this shit. And we just let the shit go. Bullshit. Call them on it. That's a bullshit article on that fucking from that college paper. And whoever fucking wrote that, their ass needs to be expelled. It's no different than if someone fucking posted a pro-fucking Nazi op-ed in the paper. You need to go, especially if that's a public university. Private university, you get into... The law gets a little fucking... It muddies the waters. Public university? No, I'm sorry. We're not funding this. We're not funding this. Sorry. It's bullshit. And this is how come I can't get on board with this whole, well, some people think better. No, most people are so stuck in the way they fucking think, they just go about their life, and that's fine, as long as they don't act on it. These people are provoking people to act on their base instincts. Tribalism. Right. This person looks different than you. Then this person who looks different than you is the reason your life sucks. So you have to punish them.
Yeah, people posting stuff on social media and writing stories about how it's okay to be white, and I read it and I roll my eyes right out of my fucking head. I'm like, this is fucking ridiculous. You guys are making up a prosecution of your whiteness, and then I turn around and hear somebody saying it's not okay to be white. I'm like, oh, what the fuck, man? Why do you have to keep this conversation going? This shouldn't even be a conversation.
It's like when I talk to people who are from other countries who go, you realize the U.S. goes over to, let's just say, our support of Israel, right? So we support Israel, and we rubber stamp and co-sign and back all their plays when it comes to what happens with the Palestinians. All right. So do you know that there's going to be blowback from that? Yeah. And you know what? The Palestinians are absolutely fucking justified in that blowback. That's not our fucking fight, first of all. Second of all, I'm not really sure I've said this from one of the first episodes I've been on this show. I'm not really sure how I feel about Israel. I don't know if any, what, because some big book of fairy tales says you have some sort of religious claim over that land, the whole world's just supposed to go, oh, there you go. Because 6 million of you got rounded up and cooked like a fucking holiday fucking turkey, we're supposed to just go, oh, here you go. You can displace a whole fucking group of people because your big book of fairy tales tells you that that's your fucking land because you're the chosen ones. I'm not down with all that bullshit. There's no valid reason. It's not a bullshit religious reason for the state of Israel to exist and to have came to exist like it did. So if I feel that way and I see the hypocrisy, how the fuck can I not see the hypocrisy when the media, the mainstream media, who's mostly left-leaning, most college fucking campuses are preaching this shit about, oh, well, we need to fucking dismantle whiteness. And first of all, there's two words I'm starting to hear more and more when it comes to these type of subjects: reckoning and the invention of, and then you can insert masculinity, whiteness, whatever you want. Why am I hearing these words over and over and over in the media, in articles? That's called conditioning. You're telling me two words that we've not heard like this as all of a sudden being used out of the fucking blue for no reason? No, someone's pushing an agenda.
How do you invent whiteness?
Well,
that's a genetic trait.
We've talked a lot on the show about a type of behavior that I feel was really summed up well in. I mentioned this in our private chat, but the last episode of This American Life, and it tells a story about a politician named Harold Washington. And this was in Chicago. He was Chicago's first black mayor, and he got into power because he got a lot of the black people to get out and vote for him with this understanding that, him being black himself, growing up in Chicago, he's one of us, and he's going to treat us the same way as everybody else gets treated in this city, right? And so he does get elected, and he does come into power, and and part of the platform that he ran on was fairness, that everybody can be treated fairly, and that was his ideal to shoot for. And the black people in Chicago bought into that, elected him with this idea that, things were going to be more fair for them. But it wasn't enough for a lot of his constituents. A lot of them were angry because he was being fair, because they weren't getting some sort of leg up.
On their set-asides.
As some sort of, reparations, as, the way that it was phrased by one guy that was interviewed for this story was that his constituents, a lot of his constituents wanted him to be what they called more than fair. Yeah, go ahead and be fair to the white guy. You can continue that. But we want a little something extra because we deserve it, because we've been oppressed. And
reminiscent of that scene in The 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Right, which, we've talked about the pendulum swinging. That is how you give momentum to this pendulum. You pull it back as far as you can on your side, figuring somebody's going to wrestle it away from you at some point. It's going to go swinging back the other way, but at least you get as much as you could while you had it on your side. When really, if you're forward thinking, you would put your energy into stopping that pendulum in the center so it stops swinging so radically left and right, so that there is a more even idea of what is considered fair. So and that's ultimately why I can't get behind any policies of reparations or
because it's not
shit.
It's
what's the term for it, for hiring practices that
affirmative action.
Yeah, thank you.
It's not
affirmative action
because it's not moving forward. It's dwelling in the past. It's focusing on what has happened rather than moving forward.
Right, and you're not dealing with the extremists on the other side that want to get that pendulum back on their side, who are your angry white people who are seeing maybe it's a personal experience. I wanted this job and they gave it to this black guy. I wanted to be a fireman. They gave it to a black guy because they needed a minority. Well, fuck that shit. They're getting unfair treatment.
Look, and I'm sorry, I did go off on a rant there, but what I'm getting at is this.
You good?
What I'm getting at is this: is that, and when I say Nation of Islam, I'm talking about Elijah Muhammad, Louis Farrakhan, Nation of Islam. I'm not talking about Muslims in the Middle East. The Nation of Islam has, especially under Elijah Muhammad, at different points in time called for the eradication or the exile of Jews and white people, etc., etc. Obviously, I don't agree with any of that bullshit. Here's the thing. If they're peacefully marching and demonstrating and someone attacks them simply based on their beliefs, I believe they have every right, up to killing the person if they have to stop them from hurting them in self-defense.
Yeah.
Right? Now, here's where I'm a Nazi. Here's where I'm every fucking horrible white thing in the world. If neo-Nazis and alt-right people are peacefully demonstrating and marching and someone attacks them, I support their right to defend themselves to the death, if need be, to stop someone from trying to harm them. That's why I posted in the group chat today that Malcolm X quote. I don't consider it violence if someone's trying to harm you. I consider it self-defense, and that's common sense. That sword cuts both ways, folks. All right? And if you people who are thinking,
what, things go two ways? Come on.
I don't agree with this person's ideology, so that gives me the right to violate their human rights.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, if you think that way, let me tell you something. You're starting down a path that no one's going to win. Yeah.
There's no one's going to win.
They Germany have less rights than you because they're a Nazi.
There's a guy in Germany about mid-20th century that would have loved the way you think.
Because I'm just going to say this.
And they can lose their rights if they decide as a Nazi to beat up on a black guy because he's black. There you go. Send him off to jail. Now you're losing your rights. If you just want to talk about how you wish that black people weren't in this country and they should all go back to Africa, well, as long as you're doing it and not openly calling to beat up black people, then you're fine.
I wouldn't do it in Detroit.
You express yourself how you see fit.
It's the same way I felt about the Nation of Islam. The same way I still feel about the Nation of Islam under Louis Farrakhan.
It's the same way I feel about fucking hockey fans. They fucking win something, they go out into the streets and cause chaos. I'm like, you do whatever. That's your guys' thing. As long as you're not tipping over or trying to burn my car, then we're fine.
You wait till the football team does something. You think otherwise? You think hockey fans or something? Just wait. Detroit will burn down.
Look, the bottom line is that there is a segment of the extremes that want all-out race war. And
I heard someone say that the other day. We're in a civil war right now, and it's cultural.
We've been in a civil war since the Civil War. We just haven't been firing shots at each other for the most part. It's been cultural.
Well,
it's been through busing, through everything, through the civil rights movement. It's all that. It's always a push-pull. It's the people who don't want change versus the people that want change. I have no problem with a truly progressive agenda to where the end goal is egalitarianism. We're all equal. We start off from the same fucking starting gun. I have no fucking problem with that agenda. What I have a problem with is unending bullshit based on something that gets further and further in the past. I'd even be for reparations, but it would have to be. It's never going to happen. It'd have to be I once heard someone say on Bill Maher that what would be fair reparations, and I don't want to misattribute it. I know it wasn't Cornel West, but I want to say it's him, but I know it wasn't. So forgive me for not remembering exactly who it was. But the person made a point. They said, okay, this country got so much free labor from slaves, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. True reparations would be, for the period they were slaves in this country, black Americans don't have to pay personal income tax. Okay, fine. But then the bullshit stops. I don't want to hear no more about this horse shit. We're done. Okay? 400 years of slavery, 400 years of tax-free. I don't know what else to fucking say. If that's what it takes, fine, fuck it. I don't care. Can we just put the past in the past and stop carrying around dead people's fucking luggage? Can we stop doing that? Because that's the only way this shit's ever going to stop. But it's also obvious. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, to say that, just said that we're at in a cultural war right now, right? If what we're experiencing right now is a cultural war, if you're going to identify that as a war, then you have to point to some point in history in some civilization somewhere where there's a period of what you would describe as peace.
That's why I said it's always going to push and pull.
Point to me where there was a multicultural society that lived in some harmonious utopia. Right? I mean, as weird as fucked up as shit seems like right now, we still live in the most harmonious time in the history of the world, in the most prosperous country with the least amount of accidental and violent deaths due to war and catastrophes. Like, we live in a golden time.
Then why are we not screaming that from the mountaintops, Aaron? Why every time Fox News and MSNBC run a story that just drives the wedge deeper between us and acts like, oh my God, the end is nigh, do we not go, shut the fuck up, and if you don't, we'll burn your studio down?
You know what? Because what we failed to keep sight of is the fact that the things that are reported in the news are, by definition, very rare events. That's the only reason why they get on the news. Car accidents, cancer, people dying from cancer, suicides, all these things that don't get on the news because they just fucking happen every day, all the time. Not even every day, every hour, every minute. People are dying from these random things. But what are we afraid of? We're afraid of the crazy shooter or the terrorist, the shit that statistically is just not going to fucking happen to us, is not going to be the thing that gets us. These are everything that's reported on the news is by definition like a lightning strike.
Yeah, I know the news would be pretty boring if today, 6 o'clock, married man continues not to get a blowjob from his wife. Now here's sports.
No film at 11.
And it's not to say that like we don't. We spent enough time talking on this show about sexual predators, about gun violence. These are two issues that I think we could all agree that we should be at least actively trying to get our heads around and trying to figure out how we can prevent these things from happening. That's a good thing. That's a nice goal to shoot for. But just because they're all over the news every time you turn it on doesn't mean that it's happening everywhere all the time around you.
I think it's human nature.
I think we can't separate that anymore.
It's coded in our DNA through hundreds of thousands of years of evolution, and for us to have been able to survive to the point we have, for a very large segment of the population of the human race to live in fear. And I think you have a smaller segment of the human race who refuses to live in fear, so they go to the next easiest emotion to live in, and that's anger. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the hardest emotions, the hardest human of emotions to live in is gratitude and appreciation, or feelings to live in. And I think we need to try to shift towards that. And I know I'm part of the problem because goddamn, I've never met a mad-on that I never thought that I don't pass them up. All right. But at the same time, I hate myself a little bit because goddamn it, now I'm adding to the problem. I'm the hypocrite. I'm the asshole here because I got so much to be grateful and thankful for in life. The fact that I have the ability to walk out my front door and not have to worry about random violence striking me. I don't like so many people live in fear that because of what that television pumps in their head or the news pumps in their head. It blows my mind.
Well, it is interesting that you talk about this going back all the way to the dawn of man, because obviously fear is useful because only useful traits that help a being survive are passed on. That is how evolution works, right? So if fear had no practical use for survival, we would have lost it generations ago.
Yeah.
Millions of years ago even, right? So, when we had legitimate daily fears, when every day waking up in a cave was, can I get enough water to feed me and my family or my tribe or anybody else? Am I going to have a successful hunt? Is something going to erupt out of the sky and kill us all? We have no control over our environment. We feel like we have to fight for everything. Fear
by a bear today
was the driver. Fear was the driver that got you out of the cave, got you to go find the food and make shit happen and bring shit home for to just survive. And now we live in luxury, frankly. Even those of us considered poor, a lot of us still, if we have a roof over our heads, live in what would be considered by most people, even a couple hundred years ago, as opulence. And the things that we don't have to worry about are numerous. So
one of the things that I had
we have this overdeveloped sense of fear that we don't know where to place anymore. That doesn't mean that the fear goes away. It's been with us since the beginning.
One of the things that I was having a conversation with a friend about a few weeks ago is, do you realize the level of literacy compared to 100 years ago? And I'm not talking. It's amazing the level of basic reading that the most of the American population has compared to 100 years ago. The world even more so. But yet we never celebrate these things. We never go, God damn, we've made some fucking big strides as a fucking species. No, we find new bullshit to pick at each other about and to start wars about. And when I say wars, and just like what I said, the civil, we're having a civil war. Yes, it's a It's a cultural war. It's a war of ideals. And you said point out to one point in history where that's never happened. I can't really do it. I mean, I can do it about ethnicity. And the ancient Greeks weren't worried about ethnicity as much as we were. It wasn't about ethnicity. It was more about your status and how much money you had in society.
Because once
your color was almost irrelevant.
Sure, because once they moved their enormous army into your country and eradicated most of the fighting males and raped all the women, then they were all Roman.
Yeah,
they were all Roman. They were automatically Roman. It was just like, you're part of the family now.
But I mean, the same thing was here. I'll have to do some research, and I'll send it to you guys. I really don't want to get into it right now because I'm going to fuck up a lot of facts and it's going to piss me off. But I just want to say real quick, it's just, I understand it's a constant push and pull. All right, and this is why I've said the hardcore conservatives, their downfall is almost all the time they're on the wrong side of history. They want everything to be the same, or they want to turn the clock back. That's not how. It's not how evolution works. And the hardcore progressives.
Again, show me in history where that's happened successfully.
And the hardcore
where people
progressives
went back to the way things were.
The hardcore progressives, their downfall is they always need an enemy. That's part of being progressive, is you have to tear something down. You have to tear something that was evil and bad and oppressive down. And if you can't find it, you start inventing things. And eventually they turn on themselves. And I mean, if you watch the left online in some of the groups I'm in, there's constant infighting. There's constant jockeying for position on the victimhood totem pole. It's a race to the bottom because they bottom from the
signaling.
But they top from the bottom. It makes no sense. It's like a pimp getting pegged by his hoe, but he's still dominating his hoe. It makes no sense, but that is how their hierarchy works. It's counterintuitive. And I mean, these are the extremes. But like you said, with a pendulum swinging back and forth to the extremes, you're never really going to get anywhere. Where are you going to get the most progress from? Mm-hmm. When it's in the middle, when there's a balance. And I've said it before, and I maintain it. True equality comes from balance, comes from the center. Because if it's too far to one side, then the other side's getting shorted. And if it's too far to the other side, then the other side's got their legs up in the air while that side's got their feet on the ground. You can't have it. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, this is why I find the prospect of the complete disregard for the Fourth Estate, the fucking Walmart T-shirt about hanging journalists. This idea is really scary to me because if you're mainstream America, if your average citizen just decides that there's journalists, we'll just throw them in the same basket as lawyers. You can't trust any of them. Sometimes you need them for certain things. You use them and then just wash your hands of them because they're all slimy and untrustworthy. Then you've left the arguments to the extremists. We can say these are a minority of people that are extreme Nazi right-wingers and extreme liberal, I don't know, snowflake, whatever you want to call them. You can say that those are, just extremes that don't have a lot of control, but that's only if everybody in the middle stays informed enough to keep control of the narrative and not let it be controlled by the fringes. And that's kind of the direction that we're heading in. So, I don't know. We could go a million different places from here. Maybe we should put a pin on this.
I was going to say, because the deeper question that could make this go another hour is why have we why have we gotten to this place?
Yeah,
we didn't just arrive here. It wasn't all of a sudden, hey, we're making T-shirts like this now because we feel like it. Like it's a whole, yeah. We could answer that one next week for 4 hours.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll put a pin in it. And I mean, it started out as a bit a few months ago, but who the fuck knows what's going to happen next week? If you'd have told me when this Harvey Weinstein thing broke, that someone like Garrison Keillor was going to end up losing his job.
If you were Nostradamus and you looked a year into the future and just wrote down everything that Donald Trump did and presented it to me after he was elected and said, hey, you know that guy that was just elected president? Here's what the next year of his presidency is going to look like. I'd be like, that's a great SNL skit. You should definitely run with that.
Yeah.
But, it's a little bit much. I don't think any of this is really going to happen.
Sometimes truth is stranger than fiction.
I would have sent it back to the right. Some of this is a little too on the nose.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like, really? You called her Pocahontas? Come on.
Let's see. Who is, like, the greatest human being at the is it, like, The Rock?
Who you mean, who's the anti-Trump?
Yeah, just at the moment. Just because they'll be accused of sexual harassment by next week.
Jimmy Carter? Jimmy Carter?
Yeah, there you go. Jimmy Carter's going to put his hand on an intern's butt or something 40 years ago.
Right. He was sticking peanuts up her bum.
Yeah.
Him and Billy Carter, gang raped a secretary in the White House. Now, Billy Carter.
Yeah, too much of that Billy beer.
Yeah.
Start drinking, who knows what happens.
I could almost buy that, but,
No, who's a beloved... just whoever the most beloved celebrity is in your mind by next week, sexual harassment, done. Be over. That's just where we're at now. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying, like I said, Charlie Rose? I mean, granted, it came out he's been pulling the nude move, but...
I've always got the creep vibe off him.
Hey, all right. So real quick, before we start, there's always been the Bill Hicks theory of, anybody too far to the right, you're going to find the skins of young children drying in their attic. The guys who rail against homosexuality the most can't wait to get to a rest stop. That kind of shit. I'm starting to think if you're too far to the left, maybe there's a Klan rally in your past or a potted plant in your past.
Oh, guys who've been shouted down for years now have been saying, ladies, don't trust them male feminists. Those guys that they're too perfect.
Yeah, maybe
there's a reason they're doing that.
Yeah, maybe in your past you asked someone to watch you take a shower or something like that.
The white knights.
Yeah.
And here's the beauty.
Miladies.
Here's the beauty. Here's the beauty of women's logic.
Fedora wearing assholes.
Women go, well, no, they're not like that. And you just go, how do you know? Because they tell me. Well, guess what? I hang out with them when you're not around. And they say all the foul shit that you hate on us for saying. We just don't kiss your ass trying to backdoor some pussy from you. They do. No.
Oh, yeah. Okay. They own a penis. Yes, they do.
Okay, so you know better than 10 fucking eyewitnesses that'll be willing to testify in front of a grand jury because you have a feeling. That pretty much describes America right now.
This is an audacious and a bodacious claim to make on this podcast. And if I'm lumping you guys in with this group, feel free to speak up. But I'm saying, if you own a penis, at some point, you have told a lie to try and get laid.
Oh, God, yeah. That's like saying...
Amen, brother.
That's like saying you don't like every woman you've had sex with. I downright loathe some of the ones that I've had sex with. But it's sex.
Yeah, they're just like, hey.
Especially when I was younger. Now I don't care as much. But 17, 18, 19... waking up every morning with a fucking blue-veined fucking diamond cutter? Oh, God damn, yeah. Pussy's pussy. It's a... What is it DJ Quick said? Pussy ain't got no face? Yeah.
Yeah.
Dick ain't got no morals, neither.
No, I'd say from 19 to 35-ish. Maybe. That's how it goes.
I must have killed my sex drive partying too hard. It petered out somewhere around 25. No pun intended. It was just like, I'm done. Yeah.
But, yeah.
My heart's going to stop before my dick does. It's going to give out first.
Oh, no. I'm talking about, like, I'm like, God, I hate this woman, but I want to fuck her. Right. Around 25, it didn't matter how much I wanted to fuck her. If I hated her, you got to go, bitch. Sorry. Just get out of the... My favorite band is New Kids on the Block, and you can leave. You know, I don't care how hot you are. Shit, get out of here.
See, 25, mine would be like, here, put this in your mouth. Stop talking.
See, that's that horrible Donald Trump locker room talk.
Well, no, I mean, it was already agreed it was going to go in the mouth at some point. It was just maybe let's hurry.
You can't even prove that was Chris that said that just now.
It was just like let's speed the process along.
I heard he denied it.
Adobe Cellular?
Yeah, Adobe Cellular Player.
What?
From another podcast.
Yes.
Some politician got caught, and he's like, that wasn't me. And he's like, what, 80? This guy? He's like, it was Adobe
Jim Fouts, the mayor of Warren, was caught on tape saying all kinds of crazy shit about women. And he was saying, he called it Adobe Cellular Player.
Yeah, but come on. All right, hold on. Let's just, to be fair for a second. I mean, he's like, you know, they're 80 and they're dried up down there. That's just a biological fact. All right. I mean, wait.
Why no one wants a dried up old cunt?
I mean, seriously, at 80 years old, when I sit on the toilet, my balls are going to be dipping in the fucking toilet water. I know this. Why am I offended if a woman points that out? Right. Let me stuff my fucking Stretch Armstrong balls in your dried up gash. That's just what I want to do at 80. It's okay.
I think what was really fucked up about it, though, is that was just what he thought of old women. Yeah. Like they're useless as people because their cunts are dried up.
So this old broad pussy tasted like the pens in the Great Depression.
No, it's not like he was sitting around telling a story about how some 80-year-old chick started hitting on him trying to take him home, and he's like, nobody wants that dried up old cunt. He's just talking about old people. And he's like, why do people care what old people think? Like old ladies, they're just dried up old cunts. You can't fuck them. They're useless. Who gives a fuck what they think about?
See, man, I mean, my chauvinism does no bounds. Like, I've listened to an 80-year-old woman over an 18-year-old woman any day. I'm sorry. I just...
She knows some life. She knows some shit.
Exactly. 18, you don't know shit about shit. And if you're good looking and you're 18, you don't know shit about anything. Your entire life's been a lie up to this point.
Yeah, you just think people just walk up to you and hand you things.
That's not how it's going to work.
Have this drink. Would you like me to pay your cell phone bill?
Yeah. Plus, the 18-year-old, I mean, she barely knows how to suck a dick. Like, 80-year-old's going to pop her dentures out for you.
Haven't you ever heard the song Father Figure? Like George Michael.
And I hate to say it got even more creepier once it turns out he was gay.
Yeah, I know, right? Because now it's like, oh, that's to a young boy. Shit.
Yeah, well, no, because put your tiny hand in mine could be he just likes really petite women.
Right. No, that's a very good point.
Well, when it's gay, like, it's to a boy, it's like, ooh, that's like Pretty Young Things by Michael Jackson. It took on a different path.
When you're thinking man and woman, like, yeah, women have smaller hands than men, generally speaking.
Yeah. Like two guys.
But so do 13-year-old boys.
You got to be, I mean, either he's talking to Trump or he's talking to a 12-year-old.
All right, and on that note.
Yeah. Getting weird, so it's time to go home. We are technically, all three of us are already home. But take the show home. Hey, you there, listening. Thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading. All that fun stuff. Well, yeah, we've been doing this. Man, we've been doing this show for what? 3 years?
3.5 years?
Yeah. Even with the...
Is that...
what was it? The 9-month sabbatical?
No, 3. It's just a shade under 3 years with that 9 months off. This is our 4th Christmas doing this show.
Wow, really?
Yeah, this will be our 4th
14,
Christmas.
15, 16, 17. No shit.
I'm like, what are we going to do for a Christmas show? Just not acknowledge it?
Yeah. The fuck.
Yeah, it's Christmas. Y'all know it.
Yeah, but thanks for listening, downloading, sharing. We're on the Facebook. We're on the Twitter at Unregimented Podcast. You can email us, unregimented@ChristopherMedia.net. Yeah, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
Later, guys.
If you like this show, please tell a friend. Please follow us on Twitter and like and share us on Facebook by searching for Christopher Media. You can subscribe to all ChristopherMedia.net shows for free on ChristopherMedia.net. Please make sure to rate and comment on all your favorite Christopher Media shows. Thank you in advance for supporting Christopher Media by clicking on the PayPal button and by clicking through to all the sponsors who support ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net, and thank you for listening. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
The thing about the Name Your Price tool from Progressive is that by now you've heard a lot of ads about the Name Your Price tool from Progressive. We probably don't even need the words, the Name Your Price tool, to tell you that our humpback whale pup gives you options based on your budget, or that our novelty hand buzzer helps you save on car insurance. And that's the thing about the tiny felt bag filled with marbles. At this point, you've heard a lot of ads about the elusive northern bobcat. The Name Your Price tool, the neighbor who baked you banana bread, only from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
To show you how easy it is to file a claim with Geico, we hired a soap opera star.
Gracious me, my car has storm damage and I've had to file a claim. Could it possibly get worse? Will my claims team leave me for someone else? Someone less intense?
No. Actually, when you file a claim with Geico, you get your own dedicated claims team who promises to stay with you throughout the process.
Oh, I've never known such loyalty. I can't wait for the second season.
Geico. Great service without all the drama.